Like damn.
Now.
It's 7 a.m.
It's 7 a.m. Time for the opening drive.
Voted the best sports show in New Mexico.
For 5 years running. It's the OD in the AM with Jeff Siembieda and JJ Buck.
Well, you didn't just think they were going to sail till the end of the season, right? You didn't think that, oh, well, they'll just play out the rest of the season and move on and name a coach and there wasn't going to be any more drama. Did you? Of course not. I give the Lobos who were there a ton of credit yesterday. I give the 6 scholarship players and the 4 walk-ons and the coaching staff a ton of credit. And, yeah, that tells you where the season is if you weren't already paying attention. They lose 87-73, and I'm going to sit here and tell you they absolutely exceeded my expectations. I thought this game was a lock. If I was a betting man, I'd have lost a bunch because I thought it was easy, especially when you heard that 4 scholarship players weren't going to be there. Colorado State was going to roll through this team. I give those young men who were there a ton of credit, but you didn't think this was just going to be an easy cruise and everybody going to play till the end of the season. Not with this team. There was going to be some more drama. Good morning to you, Jeff Siembieda and JJ Buck on the opening drive. I don't know what you thought. We watched the beginning of the game. It was good to see you, by the way, and everybody else actually in person yesterday. It was really, really nice. I mean, Josh and J-Pull and all that actually have legs, and there's something besides just above the waist to them. It was good to see everybody yesterday.
It was indeed. I'm excited for next couple of months. ProView Network's busy schedule upcoming with some high school sports. But in regards to New Mexico basketball, you were right on. The story broke late in the afternoon of the 4 players that did not travel with the basketball team, and you started trying to figure that out. Was this reacting to the Paul Ware news? Where are they coming down? There really wasn't much said about the players before the game or even after the game, really about their overall situation. But those dudes play hard, and it was question number 2 is, okay, what are the rest of the guys going to look like? They're on their trip, they're playing basketball. And I'm right there with you. So many people thought this was going to be bad. And I mean really bad, like 25, 30
I
points.
did.
Because if you're all in on a team covering the 18.5 points, that's what we were talking about yesterday morning, then you think it's going to get really bad. And it wasn't. They scored the second most points this season and somehow, some way made Colorado State have to play out that entire 40 minutes.
Yeah, I'm right there. We watched it early and watched it get away, and we're just like, dang. A ton of credit to McQuatch Malawach and to Saquon Singleton and Isaiah Marin and Jeremiah Francis and Javante Johnson. And those guys all played north of 23 minutes. But the guys who came off, and McQuatch was good. But Daniel Headings guarding Roddy at times. And you're just looking out there and just go, what am I looking at? And more so, why am I looking at it? And I can't believe I'm sitting here after a 14-point road loss to put them at 2-15 and secure last place in the Mountain West Conference. And I'm gonna commend the guys who were there and tell you that I thought that effort was tremendous last night because they were absolutely overmatched and should have got blown out of that build by 30 points.
Yeah, in a situation in which, the news that came down last Friday, UNM and Paul Ware parting ways, how that reverberated throughout the locker room. Obviously, some players took it harder than others in this situation to not travel with the team at this point in time. And it's unfortunate. This team's not good, and we've addressed it. We understand that. That's why there's a change to the head coaching position. But ultimately, still, with all that's gone on, it's okay to acknowledge the effort from guys that are just trying. And no one wants to hear that. That's why there's a coaching change. That's why this program's going in a new direction. But with the situation that has been, it is right now, you definitely, good job, good effort, kid is out in full force. Because I know once that story broke, too, about the players not being there, all those questions of what's going to happen, people were just like, this is going to be Boise State, Utah State level beatdown.
I think, and the lines of the casino got really long too, with people on Colorado State money. So I know the story is who played, or at least it should be, and we're going to hit that part. Paul afterwards came on I think it was even before you were there, right? Came on and said, I put out my statement. I'm not going to talk more about it. It's about the kids and tonight and the players and the staff, and made a brief statement about giving the players who weren't there some room to process, and said the spotlight's going to be on his assistant coaches and players the rest of the way, and jumped out of the frame, which is fine. And Ralph Davis did the press conference. I'm hearing things. I'm going to guess you're hearing things as far as reasons why Valdir Manuel and Rod Brown, Byron Matos, and who am I forgetting? Didn't make the trip, didn't go to practice. Right? Who did I forget? I left one off. What are you hearing? And I'll get into what I'm hearing. Did you hear anything as far as why those guys opted not to play, or at least didn't go to practice and then didn't play?
The only things I was really hearing were stuff maybe about their reaction to the coaching news, and so whether they're upset about it, feel bad. Well, sure, it's going to happen, but to not practice a couple times, to not make this trip with your team. I think that's a tough situation, because the one thing, at least, is we've seen these guys rally together and play hard and at least try to go out with your head up. Yeah, you're losing your last place in the conference, but they haven't given up. And it's tough when you look at these couple of guys in the situation and just ultimately don't know what the motivation is behind it or what they have to say about the situation.
Yeah. All right. So I hate doing this, but we have no option, okay? Because this Kirk Vegscheider was the other one. I hate sitting there and speculating, okay? But when you ask the question and they don't tell you, you have no option. And I'm not angry that they're not telling you. I hate that I have to preface all of this, right? Why are you speculating? Well, because you ask the question and they don't tell you, and it's global basketball, and 4 guys didn't go to practice and weren't there, and they played 6 scholarship guys and 4 walk-ons. So that's why. I'm hearing a lot of that the guys are either didn't want to play for Paul, or was making some sort of a protest. Okay, and I'm going to tell you if, and I'll throw in an if, because I'm hearing it from a lot of different places, but it's not official. But if guys have decided I'm not playing for Paul anymore, or whatever, I think that it is bleep, and they quit on their team, and they put those guys that are out there yesterday in a tough spot. McQuash Malawach, who's finishing out his career, and Saquon Singleton, and Jeremiah, and all those guys who went out and busted their butts yesterday, and all the power to those guys. Look, if you want to come back and tell me, well, there was contact tracing and there was a COVID and that's why, I'm not going to buy it. First of all, because you would have told me that. Okay, you would have told me that, because you told me that in all the other situations. You would, right? I mean, it hit me.
Yeah,
cut
and
me off. Cut me off when I'm being unfair.
They wouldn't have played that game.
Yeah, cut me off when I'm being unfair.
A situation, if player tests positive, they wouldn't have played that game.
Yeah. No, if I'm crossing the line, or if I'm being unfair, please cut me off and just say, dude, because as I was listening, talking to people yesterday, and well, they just don't want to play for Paul anymore, and they're over it. Really? You don't play for Paul. You play for the University of New Mexico, right? You play for those guys in your locker room. If it was some sort of a protest against Paul being fired, which I did not hear, okay? I did not hear that. Now, could be that could be true. I'm not telling you all my sources are absolutely perfect, but they're usually pretty good. If that's it, again, you quit on your team, and for, Paul saying, well, we'll welcome them back for the conference tournament. Like, I heard one player say, I don't want to go to. I heard one player said, and this is from a pretty reliable source. At least one player said, yeah, I don't want to go to Colorado, but I want to go to Vegas next week. Really? What? If that's true, and I'm going to paraphrase it with if that's true, or pretext it with if that's true, you don't get to go to Vegas, man. No matter who you are, like, when did these games become optional? And I know this is a weird year in COVID, and we want to play, we don't want to play, all this garbage, but what are you processing? I mean, you're processing the coaches fired, and what are you going to do with your futures? If that's what you're processing, you probably kind of made it up. So you don't go to practice. You don't. When you join a basketball team, when you make a commitment to, JJ, you join it. You have a job. Are there days you didn't want to come to work? I'm sure you got stuff.
I think we all have those days.
Yes.
And in this situation, I view it as the opposite. You can be upset, but you're not changing the decision. Like, yeah, you can like your coach, but that decision has been made. So
or
why
dislike
not,
him,
or dislike him in this case, and which is really interesting because at least to this point, up until yesterday, the one thing we thought is as bad as it's been, there hasn't necessarily been a lot of turmoil. Or they've done a really good job of at least managing it to where we haven't seen the outburst. We haven't seen this frustration with the players. Like, it just felt like, you know what, they're not a good basketball team, and that's pretty much it. They're just not good, but there's not a lot of extracurricular stuff going on. Maybe there might have been a little bit more.
Well, I think one thing that and you've pointed this out a lot, they don't quit. They've stayed together. They haven't fractured, right? It really has felt like Keith McGee left. Not sure. I'm not sure that was under his own decision that he left, but Keith McGee opted out, and I'm using air quotes if you're watching us on ProView. I'm not sure it was his option, but okay. But other than that, they stayed together. Right? This team seemed unfractured until obviously yesterday. And I just, as more comes out, I don't know, man, when you're part of a team, there's 2 games left. Supposedly you love playing basketball. Are you quitting the program? Are you out? Are you in the transfer portal? All right, if that's the case, if these guys are all 4 of these guys are gone, okay. Then they're gone. Then they started the process. All right. But I'm not sure. Well, we didn't go to practice this week, and we're not going to Colorado Springs, but we'll be back for practice next week, and we want to go to Vegas. How does that work, man? How does that work?
I'm going to say it doesn't.
Yeah. Yeah.
Especially for the rest of those guys that made that trip and playing that game yesterday.
Yeah, and all the power to Eloy Medina and to Logan Paget. I thought Logan Paget gave you some nice minutes, man. I'm like, dang, how come that guy didn't get a little run before? So, all right, I got more on this. I know you do too. 505-246-0610. APS is going to get to play. Spring sports are going to get a taste. You go through a whole practice season for a game or two, but at least they get something. Women play tonight in the pit. A lot of NBA stuff last night. Mountain West Conference regular season champion was crowned last night. Tons to do, us and you. Glad you're with us on ProView Networks at 95.9 FM and AM 610, the Sports Animal.
Melfi can cash it in. He's got some protection. Deep ball. Erickson's open. Touchdown, Monarchs.
Second and 10. Smith looking, and he's going to fire over the middle, and he's got his guy, and it's another big play. Walking away for a touchdown, Tristan Altier.
They're going to hand it off to Chavez. Chavez breaking tackles. Look out. Chavez up the sideline. Stays in bounds. Touchdown. Volcanovic.
That replay, to
Yeah, I
just
got
get
you.
the measurement. I mean,
Smith's got a fire on first down, and he's on the outside. There's a lot of room for Brad Thomas. A move, and he's set free. Dance into the end zone. Touchdown. So it goes.
He'll run with it. Stumbling. Gets down into the end zone. And looking to throw it. And he throws it in the end zone. Caught!
First and 10 from the 11. And spin move for Smith. Push the B button. Dance into the end zone.
He'll throw it. Looking. Here comes the run. Step it up. Javier now running around. Being chased. Looks across. Throws it up. Man's wide open. Ball is caught. Touchdown. Siembieda. Dropping, looking, stepping up. He's going to run. He's got a lot of green in front of him. To the end zone. Touchdown. Rio Rancho, Isaiah Chavez. Chavez set. He's going to run with it again and dives and.
It's Austin Smith, and to the outside, a lot of room. Look out. A foot race down the sideline.
Baseline drive by Francis curls off, but there's McQuatch Malawach on the stick back for UNM, and Malawach takes another man down. He's past Elijah Brown into 18th on the all-time scoring list for McQuatch Malawach.
Robert Portnoy on the UNM Sports Radio Network. McQuatch Malawach, 20 points, 8 rebounds in his final. We think it's his final regular season game. Certainly. I got to believe the new coach would take him back if he opted to take this free year, which will be interesting, JJ. I don't know what McQuatch has got going, but you're a new coach coming in. You would take that guy in an Albuquerque second, wouldn't you? Out of everybody on this roster.
No question about it. You'd welcome back someone that's going to finish top 20 in scoring, 4-year player, just great dude, and he's been the cog to this team. And when you've talked to McQuatch Malawach the way that he's represented himself and this basketball team, you hear other players, he's been a voice that's tried to uplift his teammates, keep these guys grinding, and for the most part, they have. And really for the first time, we saw that fracture within the team and the other stuff going on yesterday, but he's been the one constant. And as you kind of see this season play out, I think while it's going to be one that people look back and go, whoa, remember that year for all the wrong reasons? What McQuatch Malawach has done, I think, has endeared him to a lot of Lobo fans even more.
That's a guy who's always going to be welcome here, always going to be liked here. I know I made this comparison probably last week, but I feel he's going to be thought of very much like Roman Martinez, not an Albuquerque guy. He didn't come from here. Roman was from El Paso, but came here and really endeared himself to Lobo fans because he did it the right way. He developed over the course of his 4 years. He became a leader, maybe by default, but he did, and he assumed that role, and he grew as a player. He was an impeccable character guy. And just to your point, by every account, just a good guy, a guy that you really enjoyed. I wish we could have, and I've said this a number of times, I wish we could have talked more with players this year. But certainly one of my favorite people, and I don't know what his plans are, but that's a guy that, and Jeff Grammer wrote in his story today, hopes that he gets honored by the league. Is he a third-team all-league guy in this league? Because I can see where you would say yes. You're filling out your ballot. You're looking down. You're looking at New Mexico and go, no way. But anybody who saw him play, I'd be hard to tell you. I think there's 15 guys better than him or had a better season.
If you're looking down third team, definitely honorable mention. I think that's fair for Malawach with what he did this year. He had some games where he absolutely did pop, scoring 30-plus points. And, two, if you look at it from the way you defend New Mexico, it's like do everything to take away where he gets the ball, where he wants to go with the basketball, and say have fun trying to beat us everyone else. And so I think that should factor in a little bit, too, the fact that if he's going to be the top option on the opponent's defensive game plan because he's the one guy that can do something with the ball.
All right. What did you think of Medina and Padgett specifically as the walk-ons? I'm not telling you why aren't they playing all year? I mean, but they got a few minutes, and Medina we know can shoot. Padgett impressed me a little bit. I just look. I'm not telling you that these guys should have been playing all year. All I'm telling you is just watching these guys go out. There's guys who want to play, and that's. I mean, I play them in the next game and let them go out there and play against UNLV and see what they got.
I agree with that. It's a situation that if it is, as we address, guys that say, I don't want to go on that trip, but I'll go play in the conference tournament, probably won't see them at the conference tournament because that then takes away from the team that traveled, from the team that played hard, was put in all the effort this week to compete and not get blown out by Colorado State when everyone and their mama was looking at that game thinking it was going to be 30, 35 points at the end of the day. And all of a sudden the Rams are like, man, we got to play some of our guys longer. Like, we got to play this out. And, just seeing those guys in there playing, working hard all year long in the moments they've been able to do that, be on the practice floor, and finally get that payoff, it's huge because those guys are important to teams, and coaches see that. The work they're putting in, and it was a lone bright spot in a very bad season is just getting to see that, the excitement, because you're talking about a team that won 2 games in Mountain West play. Did just lose another game by double digits, but you had a local kid from West Mesa High School walk onto the program, sit down with a smile on his face. And it doesn't mean that it doesn't hurt. Yeah, they lost the game, but this dude, it's like first Division I points, man. He hit threes against a team that was in the running to win the regular season Mountain West title. So you can appreciate that moment. Yeah.
I mean, they all got into it because they love playing basketball, and it should still be fun. And I'm going to take nine times out of 10, I'm going to take the guy who wants to play basketball, who still enjoys playing basketball, over a guy who doesn't want to be there, but who may have more talent. Give me the guy who wants to be there, who's going to try. And 4 guys didn't show yesterday. They didn't, evidently, they haven't been going to practice, and they didn't get to go. Now, I don't know if it's they didn't show to practice, and so since you didn't go to practice, you're not going on the trip. Or them say, we're not going on the trip. I'm hearing different things. But, JJ, when it's 4 guys, it certainly feels like it's a concentrated effort, right? It's we got together, we decided we're going to make a statement. I don't know what statement you're making at this point. I really, what are you saying? I don't want to play for this coach, so I'm not going? Or I'm protesting you firing this coach? Or then what does that mean for your future? What it says to me is you quit on your teammates. You're sending those guys out there into a game shorthanded, and you're saying these guys good luck. We hear all year, well, we go to battle with these guys, and we're tight, and we're tight-knit, and we're together, and we're okay. All right. And I know they're young men, and I'm not going to sit here and just bombast, but I mean, if you like, I always tell you, man, if you're going to stand there in the spotlight when you hit the winning shot, when stuff goes the other way, you got to answer that too. And if that's the case, I think it's going to be interesting how it's handled moving forward too, right? Do they want to be at the University of New Mexico? Or are they all entering the transfer portal? Like if I gave you a number of how many players would be back, how many scholarship players what do you have left? Do you have 10 left? Right? 6 were there, 4 were gone. Malawatch is so there's 9. If I asked you of those 9 returning, the 9 scholarship players eligible to return, I believe it's 9, right? The 6 who were there yesterday, and then the 4 who didn't show, and Malawatch. Let's take Malawatch out. So 9 returning players. If I put the over/under at 4.5, we'll be back next year. Which way would you go?
This morning, I'm going under.
Probably I am too, and not knowing anything about who the new coach will be, what the new coach is going to want to do. So that new coach is, and that's why I think this is going to be a fairly quick process. By the way, I don't believe this is lingering for a month. This new coach is going to have to go to work and recruit a roster. I remember when who was I talking to? Was it Jans? Was it Marvin? It was Marvin Menzies. We got the job at UNLV. Remember, it was late. It was after Chris Beard. And I remember I was down at a golf tournament in Cruces, and you called Marvin, and it was midsummer, and he's out at every tournament just trying to find guys to put a team together because he got the job so late. The roster was so depleted. I don't know if it's going to be like that for this, but it's going to be similar. I think this new coach is going to have to go out. I mean, what's going to be there? And what do you do with these guys? If these 4 guys say, yeah, we want to come back, but well, we kind of quit on the end of the season, what do you do with them? Do you welcome them back?
Well, I guess when do you welcome them back? Are we talking about for the Mountain West tournament, or are we talking about for the new coach? Because I think that is some honest discussions that we'll have to have with those players going, what changed? Like, what is going to be different? Because I get it. That was a rough season, but you make it to that point, and then that's when you decide to show potentially your true colors. Was it just a bad moment? Was it just a lapse? Did you just get overwhelmed in the situation? Or are you going to be a player that I can trust? That you're here, you're going to grind, and we're going to go to work because there's a lot of work to be done in this program. And, yeah, it's going to be recruiting. You got to have players. And so you got to bring some of these guys back. And then hitting, all right, are you going to be able to hit on a couple transfers that might help you bridge that gap right away coming in? It is a long road ahead for whoever comes in. And
what's the NCAA rule going to be in regards to transfers, right? This last season, the year out was waived because of COVID. Is that going to – I mean, I think that's going to be a big piece of how this new coach puts this roster together. Maurice says you and I are like one on this issue, Jeff. I'm hearing the same thing, and I agree. No Vegas for these soft players. That's like telling your mom you don't feel like eating the dinner she made, but you're still planning on devouring dessert. It's from Maurice. Yeah, I'm getting a lot of that. The Lobo Hobo says if these guys quit on their team and their university, Jeffy, I hope Nunez shows them the door. Again, at some point they'll tell us what happened. I'm hearing, and I hate speculating, but I know you're thinking, and we're hearing, and we asked a question, right? I was kind of, I guess I shouldn't have, but I did. Because I think that's what everybody was thinking coming out of last night. 505-246-0610. Come on in. We're on ProView Networks today. Josh is the only one who made it back from the big outing at Lava Rock last night. ProView had their welcome to high school sports party last night. It was good to see people, man. Good to see Josh and you. And I mean, it was a good turnout. Just great to see people out there. Obviously, Alden and J-Pole didn't quite make it back in time, so it's just Josh flying.
A lot of paperwork, man. I had to fill out a list, availability, what games you're going to do. Very busy.
Yeah, very, very busy.
They're on assignment. They're headed to Vegas doing some good work for
They're on assignment. That's right. They're on assignment. All right, when we come back, we get more into this. I got a lot in the NBA last night. Boy, a lot of emotion last night in the NBA. We'll hit that. Tell you what happened around the Mountain West as well. It's the opening drive. Jeff Siembieda and J.J. Buck. Jerry Palm will join us at 8:30 on 95.9 FM and AM 610, the Sports Animal.
Don't sacrifice quality of flavor when you're in a hurry. Golden Pride offers ribs, fried chicken, green and red chili breakfast burritos, and Frontier Cinnabons. 4 great locations, or visit us online at goldenpride@abq.com. Golden Pride Barbecue Chicken and Ribs, proud supporter of ProView Sports Network.
Second field goal, he's got 4 points. Watson, though, goes all the way.
Hit the deck, I should say. Cordova tried to throw it off. Romero, a 3 for...
Set out to Jutapia. Nice move behind his back. It's a good... Here's Ramos, step back, high arcing, twine.
But he needed to get his legs back under him.
Ooh, little kick.
receive. Saved into the hands of Riak, ahead of the pack, Davina Lovato, up high, down hard for Akbayelsi. Out of the corner, Casals, the 3-0, Katenge! Let me clean up the mess! He dropped out of the rafters for that one, Steve.
Creates space. He gives it off to Rivas for the 3, and he buries it.
They'll be coming in soon. Double pick set for Avalos. Goes to the right. Avalos puts it up high. Window. Scores it as foul. Right here by Lewis all the way. Coast to coast. And finish. What a...
Around the screen. Against White. Step back. It's blocked. JB with the block.
In transition. Ahead to hit on. Hit on for the two-hand hammer.
Minutes to go. They've got a shot. They have a chance. And it's put up. And it's good. What a 3 that is by Jalen.
Sorry. Hito puts it up. Rebound Cowboys. Right side David Hall. Thank you very much. Here come the Cowboys. Lamina Lovato lays it up. Missed it. Hey, how about it? Thank you, Lusses. Thank you very much, Raquan Mitchell. Clock at 6. They get it. Barnes Tompkins fires. Yes! Pass up court. This for the win. Blocked by DJ Bustos. Cowboys win. Cowboys win.
As Javi's looking, and he's got a guy wide open, and it's Gay, and he's gonna walk into the end zone. But he did a good job with it. First and goal, it's Chavez to the middle, and Chavez
didn't want to play. Wasn't, oh, we have a positive test of our players, our coaching staff. Do we have to go into quarantine? It was just, yeah, we're not feeling like playing these games. So the Mountain West made the right decision in that regard. Forfeits for the University of New Mexico.
And I know Colorado State's really upset. And you know, I listened to Carlisle again yesterday, just go off on it. I think they're wrong. And this has nothing to do with where I went to school. I think it sucks for Colorado State. I feel for them. And they got a really nice basketball team. And I think they're going to the NCAA tournament. I think what Nico's done, I think he's coach of the year in this league. They've assembled. Their program is reestablished, right? They've recruited well. I would have loved to see fans in that little building this year in Moby, because I think that what they've done is really, really good. But I just, my issue with the league is they should have done it when it happened instead of waited until the end of the year. And you know, should they have given Colorado State another game? Yeah, but where and when? You know, I listen to those guys. It's not just about your schedule. It's like Jerry always tells you. We're not talking about being in a vacuum. Where are the other guys? They've got games to play too. Now, could they have played New Mexico twice this week and played Reno? Yeah, they could have played New Mexico. What day was yesterday? Wednesday? They could have played Monday and Wednesday against New Mexico. They could have. When did the Lobos last play?
Or guess what? Put your big boy pants on and play back-to-back days like they're making these women's teams.
Or like the girls do. Yeah, the women do it. Yeah, they could have played Monday, Tuesday, or Tuesday, Wednesday. They could have.
You want to play your games, there you go.
But they were complaining that they got to play Tuesday, then they got to go to Reno and play 2 days later. And look, it's a bummer. Like, the whole season is jacked up. I would not have had a problem if they co-champion this. And honestly, I think they should. I think they should co-champion this. If they do give it New Mexico or give it San Diego State 1 4-foot win and co-champion this thing, I don't know how they would have. They gone to tiebreakers on because they split their series. They'd have gone down, and I think because of San Diego State getting swept at Utah State, I think Utah State's going to finish third, right? Isn't that right? Then Colorado State would have been the number 1 seed. I wouldn't have had a problem with that, actually, if you call them co-champions, because that team last night has played to the level of co-champion. They have.
You know what? You're right, Jeff. This is a situation where why the heck not? We saw what happened. Colorado State and San Diego State split their series. So they're head-to-head. They split it. And if you wanted to take a step back and acknowledge, okay, this wasn't a positive COVID-related cancellation, New Mexico pulled out of those games, I would have been on board with that. That didn't even cross my mind. So I think if the Mountain West would have brought that to the table, it wouldn't have been outrageous to say, all right, you guys played head-to-head, you'll split, this is where you are the rest of your season, we'll call you co-champs, and then, as you said, go down from the tiebreakers. I don't think that would have been crazy either.
Yeah,
good idea.
And I think Colorado State would have then been the 1 seed. I think San Diego State then would have had a problem, but it would have been everybody's at some point. Everybody's gonna have a problem. Like you're not solving this. But I would have, if they'd have said, you know what, we're gonna give them one game and call them co-champions. I think that would have been equitable. By the way, that's if Colorado State beats Reno tomorrow, right? If Colorado State loses in Nevada, and again, where are you on that game? I mean, I told you I think Reno's going to beat them. What do you think?
It's not crazy at all that Reno can win that game.
All right.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, then it's a moot point, and nobody's got it. But then it's going to be, well, they had nothing to play for, and okay, just go out and win the games. Like Boise State.
They have everything to play for this week.
Yeah, they have everything to. I totally agree with that. I totally agree with that. They have everything to play for. All right. If you want to get in, we got NFL stuff to do. I really want your thoughts on the Lobos stuff last night. 4 guys did not make the trip. Did not go, missed practices this week. And again, it's part speculation. Well, I'm telling you what I'm hearing. So what I'm hearing is not speculation, but some of it is speculation. What do you do? If what I'm hearing is right, guys miss practice. They're angry. They I don't want to play for that coach anymore, or they're protesting something. Bottom line to me is, if guys opted to not go to practice and or not make this trip, to me, and I don't know how else you look at it, they quit on their teammates. I don't know how. I mean, if you want to talk me out of it, I'm listening. Tell me, well, they're upset and they're young men and they're emotional and they have to. Paul's word was process it. Come on, man. I mean, honestly, what are we processing? If you quit, you quit. That's cool. You don't want to be in this program anymore, and there's a transfer portal. I get it, and that may be where this goes. It might be.
But you're not coming back for the conference tournament at that point in time. You're not abandoning your team for a week and then be like, oh, I want to go at least play in the conference tournament. No, that's not how it works.
What was Paul's quote yesterday? He said, "I hope they come back."
Yes, and I will give Paul a ton of credit for still taking the high road and not throwing it on his players if that is indeed the situation. Because it's easy. He could have burned it down.
No, I agree. I agree.
And just brought the flamethrower to it. And if these players made that decision, they have to own with it. And if Paul's not going to go out there and shred them, then I'm okay with that as well. And then we can all figure out the story and how to process it.
Quote, I'm giving certain players on our team some space to process what's going on. I'm hopeful that they will return again this season. But right now our focus and our energy has been on the guys that were on this trip. I'm grateful to have them. I'm incredibly thankful for their effort tonight, their commitment to me and our program, end quote. I mean, it sure sounds like if they want to come back and play in the conference tournament, they can come back and play in the conference tournament, doesn't it? I'm hopeful they will return this season. Now let's see what happens when they get home and where they are. We'll see. When do they play? Tuesday? Wednesday? Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, right? It's Wednesday. And they'll be, it looks like UNLV is going to be who they play, the 11-6 game. All right, 505-246-0610, 888-922-0610. Your thoughts. I got emails from you at jeff@sportsanimalabq.com, jj@sportsanimalabq.com. Do yourself a favor, follow JJ on the Twitter. It's a great Twitter follow. It's _ JJ Buck. We're on ProView Network, so you can watch that on our Facebook page, The OD in the AM. Glad you're here. Happy Thursday. You're listening to 95.9 FM and AM 610, the Sports Animal.
Get into the game with Garden Swartz Team Sales. They have everything you need, from screen printing, embroidery, and digital printing services, high school letterman jackets, and all high school and club uniforms and individual and team apparel with the most reliable brands like Speedline, Rollins, and Wilson. And don't forget to check out the latest F7 Shut helmet. It's all at Garden Swartz Team Sales. Give them a call, 505-884-1234. Garden Swartz Team Sales.
Played over to Madrid, plays it across the box off the dasher. It's settled. Shot up by Garcia. Trickles in. Goal.
Chavez blocked at the rim. And here's Dorian Lewis to Watson.
Shot on and just wide. Big deflection. Goal.
With this first field goal. Look at that. That's gorgeous.
Not a game you can go have 25 turnovers in and win.
Get that out of here, Watson says. Here comes Hodnett all the way. He's blocked in return. Dickey, did he get it off? He did, and he hit it. They're really Oliveras. Wild three, and it hit.
Another steal nearly by Hidon. It is a steal. Avalos ahead to Hidon. The two-hand hammer by Hidon. I knew he was going to put that one down.
ProView Networks tonight.
District matchup there.
Davidson took it away in transition. Might be time for a jam. Yes.
Oh! Big pardon. Watch him, coach. Watch the inbounder.
Dumas Sanchez in the corner.
Back to Barton with 2.4 seconds left. Fires for the win. And he got it! And it's good. Oh my God! On the last second shot. He did. Oh my God! Bakes it in from 25 feet and watch the celebration right in front of us. What a shot by Barton. He was double teamed and somehow found a way to get it in.
Ramos to Gaxiola. High window for the win. It's good. It counts. Gaxiola with the game winner for a Driscoll Heritage.
Well, I'm going to the frontier, walking to the cashier, order up a root beer and a number one. Cover it with green stuff, one scoop is not enough. Find a booth is real tough, backed by the Duke. Meet my family, meet my friends in the quirkiest restaurant I have ever been. All of Albuquerque's favorite spot, it's the Frontier Restaurant.
The Frontier Restaurant is a proud supporter of ProView Sports Network.
Lovato driving. They're going to count it.
Gallegos, ooh, a little spin and a finish. Natalia Chavez, good spin. Takes a.
Ramos, nice jump stop to the.
Play with the gambling a little bit. Oh, there's a. Hill, little step, high window, with it.
Got the second.
To the middle.
Here we go, 3.9. It's Cooper's going to run with it. Cooper's going to swing it out to Lowry. Lowry, Portillo couldn't get it off, and Clovis goes in. It's waved off. He did not get it off in time. Portillo.
Reverse layup. Gallegos spins, window, finishes.
There's a run coming from lazy pass. Here comes Crawford. It might be showtime.
The New Mexico High School Coaches Association, established in 1941, is an organization of New Mexico's best and most professional interscholastic coaches. Coaches across work daily to help our student athletes excel in the classroom, on the field of play, and in our communities. Students that participate in interscholastic activities attain higher grades, higher graduation rates, and higher wages. Responsible for the North-South All-Star Games, statewide Coaches Award Program, and providing multiple professional development opportunities for New Mexico's coaches. Be a great coach by coaching beyond the game.
Not sure how I knew you had that queued up. Big night last night at San Diego State. Aztecs, I don't think they get to cut down the net. 71-62, San Diego State won the Mountain West Conference regular season championship. John Feinstein wrote a story. It is in yesterday's Washington Post on Brian Dutcher, the coach at San Diego State. It says Brian Dutcher waited 28 years to be a head coach, and San Diego State's lucky he did. I'm going to tell you, go through some of this because it's relevant in some respects to what's going on here right now. It talks about how Brian Dutcher, his dad was a coach, and how he was with Steve Fisher at Michigan. You know, Steve Fisher was they were both assistant coaches when Bill Frieder got fired going into the NCAA tournament. Bo Schembechler was the athletic director. Bill Frieder, the coach at the time, took the job at Arizona State before the tournament. And Bo Schembechler said, I'm not having a guy from Arizona State coach this team. I'm having a Michigan man coach Michigan. And Steve Fisher did. And won the national championship, got the job. And Brian Dutcher's been with him ever since. And, of course, that thing ended in scandal. And this is where I'm going to go a little bit. It's similar, but certainly not the same. It's different here now. But when Steve Fisher got the job at San Diego State, he called Brian Dutcher, and he says, "I'm being introduced as the head coach at San Diego State tomorrow. I want you to come with me, and I want you to commit to staying for 3 years." And Dutcher says, "I guess I've fulfilled my obligation. He says, we both got out to San Diego. He says, I couldn't tell you I'd be here this long in Laramie, Wyoming. And he says, God bless Laramie, Wyoming. But we're in paradise. You know, he says, we both got out here. We're Midwesterners. We got to San Diego, and we realized this place is paradise. And neither one of us ever want to leave. He says, San Diego's paradise. Steve and I were both Midwesterners, and we got out here. Neither one of us had any thought of leaving or going back. But it talks about 28 years and how he prepared. And I think Doug Ash with Dave Bliss for all those years and maybe would one day take over. He was his assistant. Bill Guthridge was Dean Smith's longtime assistant in North Carolina. Remember, he took over that program when Dean Smith stepped down. But JJ, I tell you this story because with the blatant understanding that San Diego State's program was in a different place when they hired Steve Fisher than New Mexico is. Okay, I am well aware of how bad San Diego State was. They were irrelevant. They were foreign. Do you realize they're 50-6 in the last 2 years? Last year and this year, they're 50-6. They were 30-2 last year. They're 20-4 this year. But before Steve Fisher got there, they were pathetic. But they took a chance. Their athletic director at the time, and I don't know if it was Jim Livengood. I don't remember who hired Steve Fisher. But they took a chance on a guy with a background. I mean, remember Steve Fisher left, and there was a scandal, and there were NCAA problems. And I know some of the names that have been brought up on this show for the open position here, whether it's Greg Marshall or Rick Pitino or whatever it is. People say, nope, can't do that because of. I don't know. Do you look at, is every discretion the same, or do you look at each discretion separately and say, I wonder if he learned from it, can he turn it around?
You analyze every situation. You do your due diligence in the process. If you believe someone is a good enough candidate to be the head coach, but has a situation, you address it. You hit your contacts up. If you are able to get that person in for an interview, you have that conversation. You also look at, is there anything that's following the person, what sanctions are on board, show clause, etc. But you do your homework. I don't think it fully eliminates everyone, but you do still have to be cautious in those situations.
Do you? And I guess it's different, right? It's San Diego State basketball was nothing. I mean, and I went to school there. They used to play at the old sports arena and would get 400 people a game, 1,000 for a big game. Then they built the on-campus arena, right? And it somewhat coincided with Steve Fisher getting there, and it changed. But basketball, you can take more of a chance, right, in a place like that than you can here. Does that make sense? Meaning, what level basketball means to this community. Can you take a chance like that? Like, would you have been able to hire Steve Fisher here?
I think the Lobos right now are in a situation where that's probably not off the table if they feel like it's a really good coach.
2 minutes.
As you mentioned, a Greg Marshall, Rick Pitino, etc. I don't think it's crazy. Again, I just go back to doing your due diligence. And is it something that, in Greg Marshall's case, potential player issues, so there's not NCAA violations. So what really was it between him and his players overall? And what does winning mean? And because I look at the situation, all right, coach comes in and wins. Does that mean he's going to have issues just because he has issues before? No. There's some guys out there that just have a track record that follows them regardless. But I also take a step back and go, I understand that people want winners, but they also shred players at any instant. If a player does something wrong, this guy's a malcontent, bad character issue. But when it comes to coaches, don't really care as long as you're producing the product. So it's kind of how do you balance those things?
It's a different time, right? That was 20 years ago. Look, Kelvin Sampson was basically banned from the NCAA, right? I mean, he was Kelvin, and now look at what he's doing to Houston. He's restored Houston. They're going to be a 2 seed. I mean, Kelvin Sampson was basically banned, and I want to talk about this more. I'm not telling you this is the way to go. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm wondering if it's off the table. It's a different time. It's a different place. 505-246-0610. I just reading Feinstein's article. If you didn't have an AD, and again, different situation. But I think it worked out all right in San Diego, didn't it? For that program. It's the opening drive. We're on ProView Networks at 95.9 FM and AM 610, the Sports Animal.
Shoot. They'll get one off, and it'll count high off the window.
Oh my gosh.
There's the long three.
Boom.
Bang. Martinez will beat the buzzer. Got it to go.
Or driving kick. Three's in the air. It's good. Nice pass on the nice block by Hernandez Crawford.
And Brown in the transition. But why not, Steve? Is Corbalon's going to go when he puts it away. And Corbalon wants to put it down. Here comes Las Brown. You can't leave him alone. Put it down.
Gershon in transition, 3-on-2. Gershon gonna go all the way. Whoa, Morgan!
Dorian over. Did he get in?
Yeah, they got in.
Touchdown, Dorian Lewis.
Seconds to play. Benavides still looking up the middle. It's intercepted. It's picked off by Freddie Anaya, and Roswell's season will end perfect.
Second quarter, 2nd and 4 for Socorro at the whole 44-yard line. McDaniel trying, good block by Hicks. First down and more, 30, 25, 20. McDaniel might be gone. Touchdown.
Wow.
Touchdown for Michael McDaniel.
It's 40 seconds this year. It's not like 25 like it used to be.
He laterals it back. What a play by Hightower. Pitch.
Looked like somebody moved a little bit early. Hicks, the play fake double move. He's got his receiver wide open. Caught. One man to beat. Touchdown. Touchdown to number 17, Nathaniel.
Third and 6. Big defensive play coming up here. Little trickery to Reese. See you later. Touchdown. They went for the deep ball to Reese.
To the right, single receiver split to the left. Play fake, head up the middle, got some room. 50, 45, 40, has one man to beat. 30, 25, 10, 5.
So I want you to understand, I'm not suggesting that you absolutely go after a Patino or Greg Marshall or anybody like that. I just, somebody sent me this article. It was Ralph in the Washington Post about Brian Dutcher, San Diego State Fisher, and Jeff Siembieda and JJ Buck, and then I'm get in 505-246-0610. JJ just got me thinking. You know, Steve Fisher at the time, and Rudy hasn't done this in years, but Rudy used to come on and call Fisher, the cheater and whatever, and all those things, and that, he had that background. I'm reading this article on Kelvin Sampson in the Chicago Tribune, dated it's March of 2019, so this is 2 years ago. And how he was banned. He was done. And yet Houston took a shot, and look where they are. Is it worth it? And I just asked the question. I'm not telling you this is where Eddie should go. But is it worth it to win? Can a guy learn from his transgression? Can he learn from his mistakes? And is each one different? And maybe it's connections, maybe it's who you know. But I look around. I mean, Calipari seems like he's playing within the rules at Kentucky after having his problems at UMass and at Memphis. Kelvin Sampson, Steve Fisher, hell, Chris Jans, right? Got a second chance. I don't know. It's a different time. The presidents and the athletic director are under such scrutiny. They're on the line for everything. Is it harder to take a chance now than it was even 5 to 8 years ago on a second chance guy who's got a little bit of a past?
The answer to the question is it is not off the table. So it's not impossible. It's not something that's immediately a no when you go through the process. Of the names you mentioned, the one pause I really have is Greg Marshall. Like, what was there? If it was a dude that just wasn't good to athletes, that wasn't good to players,
yeah, if you're just a bad guy.
Yeah, is that really what you want in your program? You think he's going to come in and just pick up where he left off at Wichita State? There's some hesitation there with me, just wondering what that whole story is, because he stayed at Wichita State. That program became relevant nationally at Wichita State, and I don't think that they would have moved on just because. So there had to be something more there.
I agree with you.
They made their decision. But overall, I don't think it's to the point of where you just say no to other people if maybe there's just some NCAA issues. Who knows what happens with, like when we were going back and looking at Larry Brown's last college coaching tenure at SMU.
Larry Brown's in there. Yeah.
He had academic issues with an advisor and fraud alleged there. So you go through all these things, absolutely, and you address it. And I don't think necessarily we're at a point where you just say no in any of these situations.
Yeah, I don't know. I go through it and I understand. Can you have integrity and still have had issues with NCAA? And I'm going to tell you, I think yes. Right? Does Kelvin Sampson have integrity?
I would say so, but I would also say, is that the only way you can win then, by having issues with the NCAA? Like, why did all this stuff arise for these guys?
Well, I mean, Sampson, right? He had he was like a serial NCAA violator, right? He had hundreds of impermissible recruiting phone calls at Oklahoma. He did it again at Indiana. He lost his job. Remember, he was the head coach at Oklahoma and Indiana. He received a show cause NCAA penalty, effectively banned him from college basketball for 5 years. And then here he was 11 years later, and he was, now it's 13 years later. But 2 years ago, Houston was 29-2. Look at where they are now. So does he have credibility? Can you change? Can you learn? I always look at a guy, brought up in the this is how you're taught to do things, and I don't know if that's the case or not, right? A guy, let's say he's brought up in a mafia family, goes into the family business. That's what he knows. Can he turn around and say, oh wow, maybe at some point realize there's a better way to do this and turn his life around? I'm going to tell you yes. Can a guy break the rules at whatever level and learn from it and resurrect his career? I'm going to tell you the answer is yes. Now, does it have to be here, and is it as easy in today as it was when Steve Fisher did it at a place like San Diego State? Was off the map. San Diego State wasn't even when you talk college basketball. It didn't matter. New Mexico still, in some respects, matters. You can't do it as incognito as you could back then at San Diego State. So.
Yes. So ultimately, the overall talking point in this is, I agree you do your due diligence, but I also believe that there's a handful of candidates that you're not going to have to worry about that are still good enough to win at this job.
Yeah, I agree. All right, Edward, good morning. You're on the Quan's Auto Care Hotline. Good day, sir. Briefly.
Good day, gentlemen. What a glorious day. I think we're up for some great weather like yesterday.
It's going to be windy.
Good happy hour
really
weather,
bad winds. Big wind.
What time? In the afternoon?
Yeah, like by 10:30, 11 o'clock. Your hair's going to blow.
I guess I need to watch that 5-day forecast with the 90% bust potential.
Yeah, see, Hot Sauce leaves and you quit watching the weather. I get it.
Hey, I listened earlier, and you said some of the Lobo players, they didn't want to go to CSU, but they want to go to Vegas. And it harkened me back about 30 years ago. I had moved to Vegas, and the Crusher was starting to build his empire, and I was working for a construction company. And we always poured concrete on Fridays because the general contractor would make copious amounts of money when we laid concrete. I'm talking like significant amounts, like we were working on the airport. And if an individual called in, if they got paid on Friday, we got paid on Friday. If they had a long bender on the weekend, they would force you to take Tuesday. If you called in on Monday, they would force you to take Tuesday off. And it was a great strategy because you got penalized for, hey, you want to kind of do your own thing? Well, here's the rules. And so it just harkened me back to that day.
I like that.
Yeah, no, right. So if you want to have a long weekend and call in Monday, you're forced to take Tuesday off, and it impacts
you don't get paid.
So.
Yep, you don't get paid. Yep, I like that.
Hey, yesterday on the Stephen A. Show on ESPN and Max Kellerman, Joseph Clifford Montana came on. And they point blank asked him and said, what do you think about Brady? And he said, I'm paraphrasing, and he said, you can't argue anymore. He separated himself. He is the greatest. And Joseph Clifford Montana, I was a huge fan of him growing up with the West Coast offense. And there's probably a series of greatest of your era and greatest of all time. But, they say the greatest form of flattery comes from your peer group. And not flattery, but the best feedback that you can get is from your peer group because they know you the best. And for professional athletes, I trust their opinions. I trust Joseph Clifford Montana's opinion more than Joseph from his mom's basement on the internet arguing points anymore. So I just found that to be interesting and very self-deprecating. And what do you expect him to say, right? I think it's very gentlemanly and professional, and I think they all kind of root for each other, to be honest with you. The Lobo basketball program, there's such a dilemma, right? I don't know much about it. I remember in the late 70s when Ellenberger took over and they had to scrounge and scrap it, or when he got fired, and they had to pick up guys from the football team and whatnot. And I think there might be some of that going on in the next year or so. But, the situation where this program is, I don't know what you do. It's a stepping stone program, which most programs are outside of probably 10 in the nation. So do you hire an up-and-comer? Do you hire a guy that's had success previously? I thought the call yesterday made some very good points about their hires. Even though he was a New Mexico State fan, there was some validity to his points for the hires that they've made in the last 15, 20 years. Anyway, just a few thoughts for you. But, I dusted off my cleats. I could be Danny Amendola or Julian Edelman. If they want me to lace up the old Chuck Taylors and they want a guy who's a shooter but not much of a scorer, I'm your guy, man. I'll come out and put it up from 30. You guys have a great day.
One hit. See you. All right. Joe Montana, I think at this point realizes it as well, what the numbers are. JJ, on the conversation on coaches, look, I'm not telling this is a way to go. I don't know. I look around at patterns, and you can make an argument for whatever you want. You can tell me that, the young, look at this league and look how the Nico Medveds and the Craig Smiths are doing and the up-and-coming coaches are doing really, and you're not wrong. You can tell me, look what Brian Dutcher's doing. You're also not wrong, right? I mean, you got Alfred and Dutcher who are veterans, different route veterans that are doing very well, and then you've got the two young guys who are doing really well. So they all work. Can a guy who's had the transgressions, and I think this profession is littered with guys who've had second chances. Do you evaluate them each individually, or can that not be done at a place like this?
Oh, it can be done at a place like this.
Okay, I think so too.
Steve Alford, his time in Iowa wasn't clean ending, and then the player's name I forget. Was it Pierre Pierce?
I think that's right. That sounds right to me. Yeah.
Issues with him at the very end. Now I think that is something that would translate very different to today. But you don't take anyone off the table if you're talking about NCAA transgressions in terms of maybe scholarship but made one or two bad recruiting calls. Like, no, it's not at the point where you eliminate anyone, but you have to do your due diligence. I think Eddie's absolutely going to be smart about it in this situation. If he feels the candidate is good enough, worthy enough, you have that conversation. But I do think that while people like Rick Pitino and they like Greg Marshall, there's good coaches that can come in here and put New Mexico back in contention. I think the Mountain West, New Mexico, UNLV, a lot of these schools, and they do have the potential. This league does have the ability to have years like this. We're talking about 3 or 4 teams legitimately going to the NCAA tournament. That's there, and this is one of the programs that can be a school.
And New Mexico should be as good as Boise State, Colorado State on a regular basis in basketball. They should be better. And to your point, I think everybody's going to have something. You get to a point, everybody's had a player or look. You get to a certain point in your life, we've all got something that somebody's going to come out and say about us. And your point on the Iowa thing, Steve never really got through that. That was the second question at the first press conference at UCLA. He was asked about it, and that really set the tone in large respect for a lot of the media with him at UCLA. I don't think he ever got through that. And everybody's got something that they've got to explain or deal with. We can continue that at 505-246-0610. Jerry Palm's going to be with us at the bottom of the hour. Look forward to talking to him. You trusted your home and your business security to a local company. They had armed response, and then they sold out. You got selected, and now your security is on the brink of being bought out by a national corporate giant. That's not what you bought into. It's not what you need to have. You can call International Protective Service, IPS. Aaron and his officers could protect your home or your business like they protect my home. IPS isn't for sale, you see. They're invested here in this community. They care about your home and your business security like it's their own. Let the highly trained armed guards or 24-hour patrols of IPS protect what is yours. Told you I was out of town the other night. There they were, 3 in the morning, making sure they were out doing a security check, checking the doors were locked. They were in the backyard, making sure that my home was safe. And I appreciate that. They could do the same for you. It was garbage day. They rolled the garbage can back from the curb after I rolled out of town. They protect my home. They give my family a sense of security, and they could do the same for you. Don't wait until it's too late. Don't wait until something bad happens. Call IPS at 505-897-2420. That's 505-897-2420. You can visit them online at ipsglobal.com.
You could continuously cough for hours on. You could take.
Well, I'm going to the frontier, walking to the cashier, order up a root beer and a number 1. Cover it with green stuff, 1 scoop is not enough. Find a booth is real tough, back by the Duke. Meet my family, meet my friends in the quirkiest restaurant I have ever been. All of Albuquerque's favorite spot, it's the Frontier Restaurant.
The Frontier Restaurant is a proud supporter of ProView Sports Network.
Ramos, rise and fire. He's fouled.
He used to coach for Del Norte. And
here's Voss all the way with the finish. He'll get the... Behind the back of the dribble. Tries to go up with the right hand. He changed hands in midair. And Hotnet sent it away. Wynn doing a really good job denying Chavez. BC hasn't got the ball. Oh, Yeku. Oh! Against Watson. Oh, look at the spin move. Ball's loose. DJ Bustos brings it up. Bars Tompkins, alley-oop. How about it? That was redunculous. Turnover. Cable to the big fella, might try to jam one home.
Moreno extra pass. And Watson. Out with it, Gallegos, and he's going to run all the way. Window, yes! Able to get out of it. How did he find Battle? It's to Cunningham, and it...
I mean, Ramos' hand. And
Ramos puts it up, beats the buzzer!
Boy, Jefferson wide open.
Jefferson to Daraji! Into Watson with the jam!
Another steal by Davino Lovato, and here comes Agbaiosi. Lob, two-hand hammer. You knew that was coming. Out the lob, tagged by Osi, the one-hand hammer.
Put up. And a drive from Palm.
JJ's going to be in the building today. 5 o'clock, Lobo women in the pit against Colorado State. You can hear JJ Buck and Nikki Heckrath-Lobato on the call. Live from the pit. 4:30 pregame, 5 o'clock tip-off here on the Sports Animal.
How about that? We made it this far. Final 2 games of regular season, Mountain West Conference Championship on the line. All Colorado State has to do is win one of these games. So Lobos, to win the regular season title, have to sweep Colorado
If they
State.
sweep, will they cut down nets tomorrow? Cut down nets. I'm just saying.
Good
All right,
question.
let's go. Jerry Palm in the next segment. Let's get through as much as we can. Robert, you're up on the Quan's Auto Care hotline. Hello, Robert.
Hello, guys. I was listening to you about talking about coaches and scandals and stuff, and I think there's a lot of stuff going on in the NCAA, but it depends on who you are and stuff. The NCAA will turn a blind eye to you, as well as the media, that they're complicit in it, depending on who's doing what. Look at Arizona. They're getting a lot of heat for their recruiting situation.
Sean Miller.
The same thing happened there at Duke with Krzyzewski. It's already come out that Zion Williamson had taken a lot of money and stuff. And for the life of me, I haven't heard anybody in the media say anything about it when it's come out in court that he's done that. The NCAA is not doing anything. Some coaches can be just left alone and not touched. Same thing with Calipari. He's done a couple, gotten a couple schools on probation, but doesn't seem to be a problem with anything, and they won't even look at him out at Kentucky. They just want all that money to keep flowing and stuff. So it's a lot of selective enforcement, and even the media is like complicit. They don't care. They turn a blind eye. It's very similar to politics. If you're on the right side of their
or the correct side.
What do you call it? their political party, the media will turn a blind eye to whatever you do as well. So we see a lot of hypocrisy in there. But when it comes to, let's say, a Lobo coaching search or something, I always talk to my friends, and we go back and forth. And would you take a Final Four or maybe an Elite Eight or even a Sweet 16, but your team get put on probation after, and everybody ever talked to say, yeah, I would take that, So
JJ, I've been saying that for years.
Maybe we're all hypocrites, or maybe I am, or something. But
all right.
I would like to win, even if it did hurt us in the long run. At least I'd have that memory of that 1 or 2 or whatever great seasons. And
that's right.
I'd live with
Robert. Thanks, Robert. I appreciate it. JJ, how long have I been saying that? And he just validated that. I mean, I've been saying that for as long as you've known me.
If that's the case, college athletics.
I'm not telling you what's right.
No, but if that's the case, we need to have a bigger discussion about college athletics. Because if you have to burn it down to win, then this entire system's broken. And it's close to being that way. He made some very valid points with the selective NCAA enforcement across the board. Programs that do the same exact thing and get hit differently. Absolutely. But if that is like a legitimate conversation where you're like, you know what? We got to throw everything against the wall, break all these rules to win, then this system's broken.
Okay. That is another conversation. But I've been telling you forever.
Then what are we doing?
That this fan base specifically that's never won, as much as they think they've never won. This fan base, and they just want to feel it. Like he said. Mm-hmm. That means I'll remember it. I'll remember what it went through. And if 3 years later you want to strip it from me, take it. Put us on probation. But if I can get an Elite Eight, Final Four run, I would take it. And then 3 years later, it's like did Reggie Bush got stripped of the Heisman. Did I watch Reggie Bush? I know what he did. Yeah. It's not like that didn't happen. And I've been telling you for years.
No one cares about the Heisman
that way. Well, but it's the same concept.
They didn't take away the national titles.
It still happened. It's the same concept, and I think this fan base feels that way. Marty, good morning. You're on the Quan's Auto Care hotline. Hi, Marty.
Good morning, guys. Do you think for a moment that if Lady Lobo basketball team wins, that the governor will take the credit because she opened the door for the pit?
I don't even understand what you're asking.
Well, yeah, okay, the Lady Lobos win their 2 games tonight and tomorrow. They opened the pit so they could play she's thinking, I opened the pit. The Lady Lobos won the tournament. They're going to now.
They win the championship.
Right.
I never thought that. I don't know.
Coincidentally, how ironically,
sure.
That.
Yeah, if you get a political win, you win.
Coaching. There's a guy next door, not my next door, but our state in Arizona, who qualifies, I think, as a really good candidate, and that's Marley over there at Grand Canyon.
Well, he's not at Grand Canyon anymore. He got fired, JJ, 2 seasons ago?
Oh, he did?
Last year, yeah.
Last year, yeah.
I didn't know that. Oh,
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so he's available.
So he's available.
Yeah, so he's available. Yeah. Did he just hang up on me?
I think he just hung up. So Bryce Drew is the head coach at Grand Canyon.
Yeah. No. I think Dan Marley's name came up last time, right? When Paul got hired, didn't he? All right, Mike. I don't have time to go to take one more, do I? I've got to hit Jerry on time. All right, so we're going to take the break. Jerry Palm will be with us when we come back. If you're there, feel free. You can call back after, and we'll get you going at 505-246-0610. But we'll continue this conversation. We're going to talk college basketball when we get back. Jerry Palm is the bracketologist for CBSSports.com, and here we are now a week and 3 days away from Selection Sunday. And where do we stand? We'll talk with Jerry next on the opening drive on 95.9 FM and AM 610, the Sports Animal and ProView Networks.
opportunity here. Martinez shoots, he scores.
Got into it. Had some nice looks at the rim. Win. Inside. They're not going to miss this one. Two-hand hammer from Murillo.
Ball's played up. Rodriguez with it. Gonna settle. Looks to the inside. Comes to the far side push. Shot on and goal. Deflected in. No.
Dorian's going to go all the way. It was blocked by the rim. Get it out, says Kobe Wade. Ramos, get it. Look out. Ramos, can he chase it down? It was a freebie. Saved it. And then stolen. And somehow Hasbury's got it back. Handoff. Watson.
Stripped. Galeon stripped him. Compiling the other way. Win up top to the big goal. Here he comes.
For the lead. Got it.
What a great game plan. Look at this.
Agbayosi throws it down.
Don't sacrifice quality of flavor when you're in a hurry. Golden Pride offers ribs, fried chicken, green and red chili breakfast burritos, and Frontier Cinnabons. 4 great locations, or visit us online at goldenpride@abq.com. Golden Pride Barbecue Chicken and Ribs, proud supporter of Provia Sports Network.
Second field goal, he's got 4 points. Watson, though, goes all the way.
Hit the deck, I should say. Cordova tried to throw it off. Romero, a 3 for...
Set out to Jutapia. Nice move behind his back. It's a good.
Here's Ramos, step back, high arcing, 20!
Well, he needed to get his legs back under him.
Ooh, a little kick.
They leave it one more time. Two-hand hammer.
Look at this. They're not going to score again. Look at this.
Up top. Yes, and the finish for Agbayosi. Saved into the hands of Riak ahead of the pack to Davina Lovato. Up high, down hard for Agbayosi. Out of the corner, Casals, the 3-0, Katenge! Let me clean up the mess! He dropped out of the rafters for that one, Steve.
To create space, he gives it off to Rivas for the 3 and he buries it.
They'll be coming in soon. Double pick set for Avalos. Goes to the right. Avalos puts it up high. Window. Scores it as foul.
right here by Lewis all the way, coast to coast, and finish.
What a
around the screen against White. Step back, it's blocked. JB with the block.
A week from Sunday, Selection Sunday, 1 week and 3 days out, or 3 days. And so let's touch base with the guy who is more tied into it than anybody. He is the bracketologist on CBS Sports. I love the smell of Jay Palm in the morning. Good morning, Jerry Palm. How you living, Jerry?
Doing all right. How are you?
Well, you know, getting there, looking at your brackets and figuring, well, I mean, Colorado State's big win over New Mexico last night has to secure them, doesn't it? I mean, I'm kidding, kind of, but it sounds like a week ago we're talking about 4 Mountain West teams, and now you got 2 in.
Right. Yeah, Boise State really hurt themselves with that loss to Fresno. Just, you know, that's taking a quad 4 loss this late in the season when you've got a sketchy tournament resume to begin with is, I mean, late in the season doesn't matter in particular, other than you just have less time to try and make up for it now. So that's a tough blow for Boise State. They can still get in though as an at-large, and then Utah State is really just on the kind of the fringes of the bubble.
So what does Utah State have to do?
Their problem is the bad loss that they took outside the league.
Yeah, what do they have to do? They have to get to the final, or is that going to be enough, or do they have to win it?
Well, first of all, it's not a matter of getting to a final. It's who did you play to get to the final.
Yeah.
Because there's a chance they could get to the final and not have beaten anybody that helps them, and then they lose and they haven't beaten anybody who helps them. So, you know, they need, you know, the best wins that they can get in this league. But, you know, the problem with that is they're probably they're going to be a 2 or a 3 seed. So, because I think Boise's already the 4.
I think they're going to be the 3.
San Diego State's already the 1. Yeah.
Colorado State will be the 2.
Oh, okay. So that's decided already. So they're the 3. You know, that they're going to get a 6. That probably doesn't help them much unless they get upset, and it helps them even less. And then, you know, they get a 2, Colorado State. I mean, I think they have to beat Colorado State before you're even really entertaining a discussion, unless everybody else just tanks around them on the bubble, that is.
I think San Diego State's solidly, and I think, and I'm going to leave you with that. How high can San Diego State?
I don't have them on the bubble anymore.
Yeah, how high can they get, and is Colorado State in now?
I still have Colorado State on the bubble, but they're on the high side of it. San Diego State, to me, is the middle of the bracket team. Okay. Maybe they could creep into a 7. I just don't see much call for higher than that. Okay. The problem for San Diego State, I mean, their best wins UCLA. They're a bottom half of the bracket team outside the league. And then, of course, you know, home wins inside the league. But that's the thing, is that every good thing they've done this year has been at home. I haven't done anything away from home.
Fair enough. Jerry Palm, bracketologist, CBSSports.com, is with us on the opening drive.
No, Jerry, I was reading your mailbag column the other day, and you're pretty much right. Everyone has these questions like, what does this mean? What does that mean? But ultimately, for a team, they have to handle their own business right now, late in the season. But also with that, you hope you avoid injuries. Villanova last night, it looks like they might have suffered a big injury ahead of their potential tournament run. Yeah, that really hurts. There's no question. Gillespie is a key guy for them. And you could tell if you watched the rest of that game how out of sorts they were, nearly blowing a 22-point lead to Creighton before finding their way. And I mean, it's hard when you lose a guy like that in the middle of a game. You're kind of in scramble mode as a team at that point. First of all, you're upset emotionally because your friend is hurt and out. But then you're now trying to figure out how to play without him. And it's one thing to have your backup point guard in the game for 5 minutes a half to give him a rest, but it's another thing to have him in there for 25 minutes straight because and it's not the same. And they haven't had a chance to really practice that way yet, so they get a chance to do that. I don't think they have another game left in the regular season. They do. They play this weekend still, so they'll get a chance to maybe shake off some of the emotion and focus on the task at hand, and we'll see how they can do without him. But you have to imagine their long-term prospects for a deep tournament run are not going to be the same if Colin Gillespie can't play, and it doesn't look very promising. Jerry, when you look at the top of the bracket, we saw Illinois just beat Michigan handily this week. Baylor over West Virginia in overtime, some fantastic games. But outside of that, is Alabama maybe the only team that could potentially make a run at a 1 seed?
Well, there's 3 big 10 teams in play for the fourth number one. Illinois, Ohio State, and Iowa are still in play. I wouldn't rule out a Big 12 team other than Baylor if they were to win their conference championship because of how strong that league is at the top. Making a run at it should Michigan win the Big 10 tournament and hand another loss to each of Illinois, Ohio State, and Iowa. Plus, Illinois plays at Ohio State Saturday. So there's a lot of interplay left among the Big 10 teams in particular to leave that number one seed, the fourth one, in play for other teams, and Alabama would certainly be one of them, and probably the most likely one of them. But also, like I said, a Big 12 team could make a kind of a run at that late.
It is pretty insane. You got 4 Big 10 teams on the top 2 lines, and I think it's deserved.
Yeah, and Purdue has crept up to 4 today with some hot play here at the end of the season. A team with no seniors and 4 freshmen contributing heavily.
Yeah, I know. It's insane. A few more minutes. Jerry Palm from CBSSports.com is with us on the opening drive.
Now, Jerry, a big talk of this season, too, has been the Blue Bloods on the bubble. Some late runs, though. Michigan State, North Carolina, where do they sit in that conversation?
Well, I have North Carolina the first team of my last 4 in. So still work to do. Duke at home this weekend. Bigger game for Duke than it is for Carolina in terms of trying to make the tournament. But obviously, a Carolina win would be helpful and eliminate Duke really as a potential at-large team. Michigan State, the win over Indiana this week was huge because it makes them 14-10 entering a 2-game stretch of a home-and-home with Michigan. They are at Michigan tonight, and they play them at home on Saturday. So they don't have to beat Michigan to make the NCAA tournament, but beating Michigan probably would make it hard to keep them out. One of these 2 games. But if they don't beat Michigan and they're 14-12 entering the Big Ten tournament, then they're going to have to win a game or 2 probably. Certainly they're going to have to avoid a loss to a team that's not a contender in the Big Ten tournament. And but they don't want to be in a position where they're 14-13 either. They're going to have to do better than that.
Anybody in the Pac-12 on the bubble, or is that pretty much solidified?
No, Stanford didn't just fall off the bubble. They took a running, flying leap off the bubble yesterday. That was awful. So no, I still have UCLA on the bubble. They have a game left with USC. Obviously, losing to USC isn't a bad loss, but their record against better teams is not good. And they might be a bad loss away after that from being in real danger of missing the tournament, depending on what other teams do. But, yeah, that's it. It's Oregon, Colorado, USC, comfortably in. USC right now maybe the only top half of the bracket team of that bunch. We'll see. Colorado has a chance at that as well. There's a little more work for Oregon to get there.
It's improvement over the conversation we had last. It's better than we had the conversation last year for that league. Not the top of the bracket, but at least you're talking more teams. All right, before we get out of here, New Mexico and Paul Weir parted ways. He's coaching the rest of the season. Are you hearing anything at all? I know you're really into the brackets and watching the games, but are you hearing anything about New Mexico job and any candidates? Because I think, what kind of movement are you hearing? Are you hearing Frank Martin at South Carolina out? Maybe Archie Miller out at Indiana, things like that?
The Archie Miller is the one that gets talked about a lot around here because I'm in Indiana. I'm in Big Ten country. Indiana has tanked the end of this season, has underachieved at a minimum this year. Not that they were going to win the Big Ten or anything like that, but they should have been an NCAA tournament team, and they just, if you watch Indiana play, they don't look like they know what they're doing on either end of the floor. They just look lost at times, and they can't shoot. And now their best guard is out, so that doesn't help. So, yeah, he's in some trouble, but there's a $10 million buyout. So they may not pull the trigger this year. Penn State job is open already, and they've been looking, but they won't pay much for somebody. They're kind of cheap when it comes to basketball. Frank Martin, I hadn't heard that one yet. I would imagine that Bruce Weber's in some trouble at Kansas State, but I don't know anything about the New Mexico job.
Give me your impression of that job. I mean, you know the history, and I know you don't watch it as closely, but what would you say, a national impression of the New Mexico job is?
I think the right guy can go in there and create a team that can win. I mean, New Mexico's got a passionate fan base. They need something to root for, and they've got a great facility. But it's they just need to have something to root for, and they're not that far removed from being good. They're not now, and it's going to take it's going to take a little bit of patience to get something built again there that's going to be competitive. But I don't see why you couldn't win it in New Mexico.
Jerry, I know we've already started some of the mid-major conference tournaments. We're coming down the stretch run. Are there any teams that are catching your attention late that are going on a run that we should probably look at over the next couple of days?
Go on a run. I mean, not in terms of at-large berths. I mean, the potential at-large berths from the non-major conferences are, probably pretty well known. It's, Loyola and Drake in the Missouri Valley. Really not much else. I guess the Atlantic 10 has got 3 potential at-large teams. But, there's a couple teams out there with gaudy records like Winthrop and Belmont that aren't really at-large candidates. But if they get in, have a chance to maybe do something because those are teams that will obviously know how to win. But, I mean, Winthrop, they just didn't have the schedule, and neither does Belmont, to really merit an at-large berth. So, but, no, I don't know that there's anybody out there that's like on the fringe of being an at-large team that we aren't really paying much attention to.
All right. TV this week or just next week?
I'll be doing it from home. I'm not actually going to be in the studio in New York, but I'll be on there quite often from the basement studio. So.
All right. Well, big from the Palm Palace. I understand. Watch the Palm Palace go national on CBS this week. We'll catch up with you next Thursday. Are you traveling next Thursday, or are you available?
No, I'm doing everything from home this year.
Beautiful.
I'm hoping to go to the tournament. That is still to be determined.
All right. Well, best to you. Be well and appreciate the time as always. We're reading you every day over on CBSSports.com. The Twitter handle is at JPPalmCBS. And we'll catch you next week, Jerry. Thanks for the time.
All right, thanks.
Jerry Palm, CBSSports.com. That's good. JJ, we're on the. I mean, realistic. We were talking 4. There is a realistic chance. I think Mountain West gets 2. But if CSU got beat early, it could be 1.
Yeah, and that's going back to when we had this conversation initially. I was an under guy. I just didn't see it working out well for the Mountain West
under
teams.
4, yeah.
No, like when we were talking like 3, 3.5, that number.
Yeah.
I just they're bound to beat each other up, and it's going to happen. And unfortunately, there's just not enough this season to back it up overall. To where those are good teams playing each other, but it's also teams that are just knocking each other out at this point.
Well, what I didn't ask him, and I should have, is if Colorado State loses to Reno tomorrow, and I think that happens. This is where they lose to Reno tomorrow and get knocked out in the quarters. Are they in? And I'm not sure they are. 505-246-0610. We'll get back to you when we return. Emails Jeff or JJ at sportsanimалabq.com. Gentlemen, got a few truths for you as you roll through your day. As men get older, things like fatigue and low T, hair loss, they're all natural, and there's a good chance it'll happen to you. There is, however, something you can do to battle nature and feel like you again. If you're experiencing these things, you're regularly tired, maybe carrying a few extra pounds or dealing with erectile dysfunction, I strongly suggest you call NewMale. NewMale leads the way in helping men deal with these issues. They've done that for years. They've got testosterone replacement, which utilizes the latest cutting-edge technology, and men all over the country are benefiting from this. They feel better. The phone number is 505-652-1688. That's 505-652-1688, or visit NewMale, NUMALE.com. Guys, NewMale's convenient. They're right here in Albuquerque. The process is comfortable. It starts with your phone call all the way through the treatment. NewMale guides you through this process, and the best part of this is the results are real. 505-652-1688. Guys, don't put it off. Take care of you. Visit NewMale.com or call 505-652-1688 and feel better.
You have to be up in 5 hours, 2 hours.
looking, and he's got a guy wide open, and it's Gay, and he's going to walk into the end zone. But he did a good job with it. First and goal, it's Chavez to the middle, and Chavez stops.
And Stevens in motion. On the handoff to Mitchell. Look out! Oh, see you later. Take it to the house. Fly, Cardinals fly. To the other side, provides some protection. And off to Webskowski again. Look out! See you later. Good night. Touchdown, Webskowski. An 8. 2 receivers at the top. Harris has all day. He's going to fire to the end zone. Open man. Touchdown. Wildcats. Not a defender inside.
A little bit.
Webskowski on the sideline. Hasta mañana. He's off to the races. Touchdown, Clovis.
Albuquerque this afternoon.
34-24. Rancho late in the third. How about this run? Nice play. Dickerman. He's still on his feet. Touchdown, Wolverine.
Exactly what they want to get yards.
He's going to go for it. He's got a guy towards the end zone. It's Krebs. Touchdown. What a play.
And long here for the Storm. Handoff to, we're going to fake the handoff, excuse me. Davidson on the deep ball. He's got some space, and it's caught. Still on his feet. Touchdown, Storm. Wow. Santa Maria.
And so they'll send one deep and returnable at the 2. Usually Volcano do either a reverse or a fake reverse, and here it is a reverse. And a move to the outside. There is a lane. Look out! Shot out of a cannon. Rodriguez is going to take it all the way.
Get into the game with Garden Swartz Team Sales. They have everything you need, from screen printing, embroidery, and digital printing services, high school letterman jackets, and all high school and club uniforms, and individual and team apparel with the most reliable brands like Speedline, Rollins, and Wilson. And don't forget to check out the latest F7 Shut helmet. It's all at Garden Swartz Team Sales. Give them a call, 505-884-1234. Garden Swartz Team Sales.
Played over to Madrid, plays it across the box off the dasher. It's settled. Shot on by Garcia. Trickles in, goal.
Chavez blocked at the rim. And here's Dorian Lewis to Watson.
Shot on and just wide. Big deflection. Goal.
Over this first field goal. Look at that. That's gorgeous.
Not a game you can go have 25 turnovers in and win.
Get that out of here, Watson says. Here comes Hodnett all the way. He's blocked in return. Dickey, did he get it off? He did, and he hit it.
They're really...
Oliveris. Wild 3, and it hit.
Another steal nearly by Hidon. It is a steal. Avalos ahead to Hidon. The two-hand hammer by Hidon. I knew he was going to put that one down.
ProView Networks tonight.
District matchup there.
Davidson took it away in transition. Might be time for a jam.
Appreciate Jerry being with us. You got women's basketball tonight on the Sports Animal. JJ Buck, for the first time, courtside in University Arena. That's what we call it now. University Arena?
University Arena, the Pit.
You are looking live at the Pit. Lobos in Colorado State. Conference championship on the line. JJ will take the mic, crack the mic at 4:30 with the pregame show, 5 o'clock tip-off. Lobos in Colorado State. Opening drive on 95.9 FM and AM 610 Sports Animal. Jeff Siembieda and JJ Buck. Men lose last night 87-73 with a depleted roster. 4 scholarship players, Valdir Manuel, Byron Matos, Kurt Vegscheider, and who am I forgetting this time around? Did not make the trip.
Rod Brown.
Rod Brown. Evidently, did some, if not all, didn't practice this week, didn't go. Whether the protest or whether they're trying to make a statement that they're upset about, they don't want to play for Paul anymore, or the way things have gone, whatever it is. Paul, after the game, said he's giving some players room to process everything that's going on, and hopes they'll rejoin them this season. There's a game at the conference tournament next week. Again, my feeling is if they just decided I'm not playing, but I'm not going to Colorado, but I'll go to Vegas. My feel is you quit on your teammates, man. You put these guys out there in a tough spot, 6 scholarship players, and I'm not sure you just get to pick and choose which trips you go on. You're on a team. I'm not going to go to Colorado, but I want to go to Vegas. I'm not sure that's how this works.
It's not really like a vacation in Vegas at this point in time either. You're not going to get to gallivant around the strip before you play basketball. And it's a situation where if that is indeed the case, Paul Weir was very, very nice in his comments then last night about those players. But I would assume you probably don't get to go play in the conference tournament if you jump ship on your team this week.
We will see. All right, let's go. 505-246-0610. Lancifer. Good morning, Lance. How you living? You're on the Quan's Auto Care Hotline.
Well, JJ, here we go. You're going to win us a championship, right?
It's a lot of pressure. Let's go.
That is a lot
All
of
right,
pressure.
brother. I believed in you the whole time. I told you could do it. But really quickly, Edward, my father, was a project manager at the airport. I was one of the foremen. You had to have 10,000 PSI concrete to do that job, and only one company provides it, and it's a worldwide company. But anyway, quit lying to people. I mean, just stop it. But anyway, I'm really proud today. Those student athletes that peacefully protested twice, once here in Albuquerque and once in Santa Fe, and the rest of their lives, they'll know that it mattered because their constitutional rights were met with results. There was no violence, and I'm very proud and happy for them. And they all were different, colored letter jackets. I mean, guys that were rivals are standing next to each other, side by side, and I never seen nothing like it in my life when I saw the protests, and there's just no way they could deny those kids. And they only get to play a few games, but at least, say, like the people seniors, they get to at least have a chance to show what they're like on the field. For, say, college and stuff. Because, if not, you just go away, and waste it away, all your work that you've done all summer long. So at least they get a chance to show that. And I'd like to know, too, now that that's back on, the ProView Network, like any event scheduled?
Yep.
I mean, I used to love it. You could just turn on 50 and watch. But, are they covering things of the sort coming up?
They are. Yeah, they are. And they're working on their schedule, and they're going to be incredibly busy. In fact, they've got college games today. So, yeah, no, Lance, I appreciate the call. Thank you.
God bless you, man.
You too. It's good. And he's not wrong on these young men and women, these guys and girls who they're going to get to play. Certainly very abbreviated fall sports seasons, in a lot of respects, they're going to be training for one meet in cross country. But they get one. Is it enough? It's what they got, man. I told you I'm looking at the bright side. It still makes me sick that's all they're going to get, and they've been pushed to this point, but at least they get one. No. All right. We got to hit some NFL stuff too, JJ. The NBA was crazy last night. Donovan Mitchell went nuts and not on the court in his post game. He got a little angry. 505-246-0610. It's yours the rest of the way on 95.9 FM and AM 610 Sports Animal.
Lovato driving. They're going to count it. Gallegos. Ooh, a little spin and a finish. There's Natalia Chavez. Good spin. Takes it.
Here's Ramos. Nice jump stop through the...
Played with the gambling a little bit. Oh, there's a... Hill, little step, high window with a...
Got the second.
To the middle. Here we go. 3.9. It's Cooper's going to run with it. Cooper's going to swing it out to Lowry. Lowry. Portillo couldn't get it off, and Clovis goes in. It's waved off. He did not get it off in time. Portillo.
Reverse layup. Gallegos spins. Window. Finishes.
There's a run coming from
lazy pass. Here comes Crawford. It might be showtime.
The New Mexico High School Coaches Association, established in 1941, is an organization of New Mexico's best and most professional interscholastic coaches. Coaches across work daily to help our student athletes excel in the classroom, on the field of play, and in our communities. Students that participate in interscholastic activities attain higher grades, higher graduation rates, and higher wages. Responsible for the North-South All-Star Games, statewide Coaches Award Program, and providing multiple professional development opportunities for New Mexico's coaches. Be a great coach by coaching beyond the game.
Shoot. They'll get one off, and it'll count high off the window.
Oh my gosh.
Here's the long three.
Boom.
Bang. Martinez will beat the buzzer. Got it to go. His
Fork driving kick. Three's in the air. It's good.
Nice pass on the nice block by Hernandez Crawford.
And Brown in the transition. But why not, Steve? Is Corbalon's going to go and he puts it away. And Corbalon wants to put it down. Here comes Las Cruces. Brown, you can't leave him alone. Put it down.
in transition. 3-on-2. Gershon going to go all the way. Whoa, Morgan.
There and see how we fight and compete, and to have a game like that taken from us. And I'm never, ever one to blame the refs, to blame the officials. I could say we could have done more, but this is getting out of hand. You know, there have been games like this that we've won. There have been games like this that we've lost. But this whole refereeing stuff and the way we're nice, we don't complain, we don't get frustrated. You know, we fight through things. And the fact that we just continually get screwed in a way by this. You know, like we won this game, in my personal opinion. You know, but like I said, I'm gonna give them credit. They won, whatever, cool. But like this is it's a consistent thing, and you know the question is, can we do it? Can we sustain it? Are we for real number one? Like, yeah, the hell we are, and it's getting
completely ridiculous. That's what's happening. That was Donovan Mitchell, a star in the NBA. The best player on the best team, or at least the number one seed. Maybe not the best team, but the team with the best record in the NBA. After a loss in overtime last night, Utah lost to the Philadelphia 76ers 131-120 or 131-123 in overtime. You never hear a player go off on the refs. And Donovan Mitchell's got a pretty good reputation of being a solid guy, good player, good teammate. Does he have a point? Because that was he will get fined. Now he will get what do you think? $50,000? I mean, he's going to get a hefty fine for going off on the refs like that. Does he have a point?
No, he doesn't have a point. The league's not out to get the Utah Jazz. Are there bad moments in a basketball game? Do referees sometimes blow a whistle and bad things happen? Absolutely. But he's out there acting like the whole world is against the Utah Jazz.
They are.
Usually it's it's a put a chip on the shoulder. You don't believe in us. Okay, you're in first place. You've been the best team in basketball at times this season. People are still picking the Lakers and Nets to win the NBA championship. Fantastic. You got to go out there and prove it. You know why people don't believe in you? Because y'all, like the LA Clippers last year, blew a 3-1 lead in the playoffs. And those are things you're going to have to overcome. But for Donovan Mitchell, I get the frustration, but boy, oh boy, cry me a freaking river. You're in first place, man. The world's not out to get you. They're not doing this on purpose. Bad calls happen. Don't get yourself ejected a minute in overtime and leave your team out to dry for 4 minutes.
There was a really bad call with a review. And it felt obvious that what against him at the end of overtime. Really, I mean, I don't know how it went the way it did. You look at it, it looks obvious. He feels it's been happening for a while, and they win games, and he hasn't said anything. You know, when a player of this caliber and that demeanor, it's not like Draymond is coming out and doing this, right? Draymond complains all the time. I used to say when we played, you know, there were certain guys, when they complained, you listened, right? If it's a guy who complains, like, I don't know, 23 for the Lakers, who complains on every call that's against him, you know, all right. But when it's a guy who doesn't, no, honestly, but when it's a guy who doesn't say much, is complaining, you kind of look at it, and is there credibility to it?
It's a bad call. It's a bad call. The league is not out to get you.
No,
you know what's also bad is you getting yourself ejected with 4 minutes to play in overtime, and then coming back and I feel we won this game. Personally, you know what we know is you weren't on the floor, Donovan. You weren't there, and guess what? Joel Embiid lit up Rudy Gobert, and that's a real thing. Is the 76ers have lit up the Utah Jazz this season, and Joel Embiid, by the way, is on an absolute another level this season. But I get it, man. Bad calls, frustration. The NBA does not have an axe to grind against the Utah Jazz. They're not looking, this team's in first place, let's start making bad foul calls against them.
I think you're right. And so I think you're absolutely right. My point is, when a guy like that who doesn't complain a lot, I tend to listen. Now, that doesn't mean he's always right. I tend to look at it more. I tend to listen more. It gets my attention more than Draymond Green, maybe, or somebody who complains a lot. But I agree with you. I agree with you. You've got to be able to accept a loss like that and move on and let it motivate you internally instead of go out. I can't tell you the last time I heard a player, maybe it's been more recent than I recall, outwardly go after the referees in a regular season post-game press conference. I mean, can you? What was
No,
last
I'm
week?
with you. I think Donovan is heated and he has a point on a bad call, but I also look at that situation and go, well, what did you do to your team after the fact? Like yelling at the ref to the point where you get teed up twice doesn't change said call. Like it just puts your team in a bad spot, and it goes back to what happened a couple weeks ago. Draymond Green, in the final seconds of the fourth quarter, there was a jump ball situation. He thought it was a held ball. Charlotte gets a timeout. Draymond goes out there, gets teed up. Charlotte hits 2 free throws, and then the game-winning shot after that. And it's like, what good are you doing? You're just hurting your team in this situation, man. Like, you have to own that. You can't come out there and say, oh, the league's against it. All right, the refs made a bad call. What you do? All right, maybe take your tee, voice your frustration, get out there and make some plays, because Donovan Mitchell was balling last night. Go out there and finish that game. Don't end up in the locker room.
What do you think of James Harden's response in Houston? It was only 3,200 people in the building, mixed response. A big deal of James Harden going back to Houston. They go out, and, of course, they win. Good team against bad team. Really good, really bad. That's how that was going to play.
James Harden's legacy in Houston is not going to be fully understood for a couple years just because it was so messy with him and the way he left, even though he just said, hey, I don't want to be here anymore. Okay, they made the trade. But that's where he became a star. James Harden became the player he is today in Houston. And while they came up short, I'm not one to pile on because who did they come up short against most of those times? The Golden State Warriors, who pretty much beat everyone in the league for that stretch there for 3 to 4 years. So I think there's still most people can appreciate what James Harden did, getting them on the cusp. Yeah, they never got over the hump of the Western Conference Finals, but I thought it was fine. Like I don't think it's one where you're too worried about having to show all this appreciation. And I'm one guy, like if you want to say, hey, James, congratulations, but all these tribute videos and stuff, it's like they're still playing. You got your time. Like don't worry about it now. It'll be fine. They can come back and make good later on when his career's over.
Yeah, I think all that's right. That's a weird one to me. A guy comes back and you don't have to win a championship to fall in love with the city. And obviously right there in that city, J.J. Watt's that way. I mean, I look at Tony Gwynn and how he was with that city. There's a lot of guys who play. I mean, even Kevin Garnett when he went back to Minnesota, right? Spending a lot of years there. And I don't know what was expected. The way it ended was ugly. I look at that one and just James probably could have handled it. Like he's come out smelling like a rose now. Nobody's complaining anymore about how he kind of quit on his team, right? Mm-hmm. And he did pretty much quit on his team early this season. Nobody's talking about that anymore. He
requested a trade, and then Houston could have handled it like other teams have, but they didn't want to. And it's that. When we get back to speaking of Draymond Green, how will we see one team like Cleveland just straight up bench a player because they want to trade him, so they're not playing him, and then another team where you have the player itself so like, hey, I'm ready to be done here, but you need to play it out, and it was not great.
What do you do? I mean, I want out, or we're getting rid of you. The man's under contract to do a job, right? So what do? Do you bench him so you protect your asset? Does he say, well, I'm not playing to protect me? But nobody's ever, whenever a guy says, I'm sitting, he never says, but I'll give you back the money, right? I mean, it's part of, in a normal season, this is obviously not normal. In a normal season, it would be who the fans are coming to see. You're cheating the fans. Are you cheating the fans on TV? I struggle with that a little bit. But then what is the right situation? The man's under
the right situation
is
at some point in time, coaches, general managers, like you got to step up and own it. If you don't want to trade James Harden, then you say you don't trade James Harden. He sits out. You withhold his money. Boom. And then you litigate it out. If the players union wants to get involved, so be it. You want to make it messy, make it messy. In this case, Houston kind of was riding both sides of the fence. Was like, all right, we'll negotiating trade, but you're still here, so we're going to play. And so it was both parties absolutely made it messy. But sometimes you just got to step up and say it like it is instead of trying to ride the fence all the time.
Yeah, I think when a guy, this is always where I land on this. If a guy says, I'm not going to work, okay, don't go to work. We're going to deduct it out of your check, right? I mean, that's what happens to you and me. I'm not coming to work today. Okay, you're not getting paid. And I know you tell me all the time that sports is different than your job and my job, and you're right. But and everybody's going to argue their side, and Draymond certainly argued his side of it, and I understand that. All right, 505-246-0610. That's the Quan's Auto Care Hotline. I got a lot of emails. Lobo coaching search, Lobo basketball last night, the Lobo situation. You can send me more if you want. It's Jeff@sportsanimalabq.com. I'll get you some of those when we come back on the opening drive of ProView Networks and 95.9 FM and AM 610 Sports Animal.
The Herd with Colin Cowherd.
When Kevin
Let's see if Melfi can cash it in. He's got some protection. Deep ball. Erickson's open. Touchdown, Monarchs.
Second and 10. Smith looking, and he's going to fire over the middle, and he's got his guy, and it's another big play. Walking away for a touchdown, Tristan Altier.
They're going to hand it off to Chavez. Chavez breaking tackles. Look out. Chavez up the sideline. Stays in bounds. Touchdown. Volcanovic.
That replay,
I got you.
Measurement. I mean,
Smith's got a fire on first down, and he's on the outside. There's a lot of room for Brad Thomas. A move, and he's set free. Dance into the end zone. Touchdown. So it goes.
He'll run with it. Stumbling. Gets down into the end zone. They're looking to throw it. And he throws it in the end zone. Caught!
First and 10 from the 11. And spin move for Smith. Push the B button. Dance into the end zone.
He'll throw it. Looking. Here comes the run. Step it up. Javier now running around. Being chased. Looks across. Throws it up. Man's wide open. Ball is caught. Touchdown. Siembieda. Dropping, looking, stepping up. He's going to run. He's got a lot of green in front of him. To the end zone. Touchdown. Rio Rancho, Isaiah Chavez. Chavez set. He's going to run with it again and dives and...
It's Austin Smith, and to the outside, a lot of room. Look out. A foot race down the sideline. All the way on the first play from scrimmage, Chris. That's a touchdown.
Scrambling. And off. Great hit. He bounces off. Outside. Got some daylight at the 20, the 10, the 5. What an incredible run.
Dorian over. Did he get in?
Yeah, they got in.
Touchdown, Dorian Lewis.
Seconds to play. Benavides looking, still looking up the middle. It's intercepted. It's picked off by Freddie Anaya, and Roswell's season will end perfect.
Second quarter, 2nd and 4 for Socorro at the whole 44-yard line. McDaniel trying, good block by Hicks. First down and more, 30, 25, 20. McDaniel might be gone. Touchdown.
Wow.
Touchdown for Michael McDaniel.
It's 40 seconds this year. It's not like 25 like it used to be.
He laterals it back. What a play by Hightower. Pitch.
Looked like somebody moved a little bit early. Hicks, the play fake double move. He's got his receiver wide open. Caught. One man to beat. Touchdown. Touchdown to number 17, Nathaniel.
their current form of abbreviated in-person, whatever, and so they'll get to play, which is good. 2 football games probably for them. It's the opening drive. Jeff Siembieda and J.J. Buck. We're on ProView Networks, where Josh is producing. Micah's on the radio side. What this proves to me is you only need one guy to sit in the ProView seat, and they've been co-piloting the whole time. He's like, don't tell him that. Don't say that.
No.
No. Who's going to bring my burritos? Somebody's got to bring my burritos. All right, I'm going to read these to you as they came in. Jeff at sportsanimалabq.com, JJ at sportsanimалabq.com. Tell us is in on Magic Malawach. Jeff, when I heard my favorite player, Makwach Malawach, was starting at center, it took me back to the 1980 World Series when Kareem was left back at the Staples Center with a bum ankle, so Irvin started at the 5, carrying the Lakers to the championship belt over Philly in Game 6. Can Malawach do that in Vegas next week? Can he? Yeah, if he needs to. I mean, I don't know what you're thinking Lobos are going to do next week. JJ, is it secure? They're playing UNLV. Is that cemented? The 11-6 game is Lobos and UNLV.
I can't say it's cemented,
but that's where we are right now.
Sure, but that's where we're sitting right now.
Can he? They're bigger. They're that's a tough athletic team. But that's can he do it? Sure, and that might be the last game of his career. But we'll see. James says, "What is the love affair with Kenny Thomas?" Jeff, it's been 20 years since his couple of decent seasons in Philly. Last we saw him 12 years ago, he was buried at the end of Reggie Theus's bench for the Maloof's Kings. Today's 17-year-old big-time recruit has no idea who Kenny Thomas is. So, Kenny Thomas, can we agree Kenny Thomas is one of the best players to ever come through this program?
Yes.
Okay. So you kind of embrace your all-time greats. I would like, especially when they want to be embraced. I don't know if there's a love affair as far as there's a big push. Kenny's interested in being the coach. Kenny's a pretty good guy. Kenny continues while his main residence is in Sacramento. He continues to come back to this community and give back, hold camps, be active. Has always showed love for this community. Kenny played, 11 years in the NBA? It's a pretty good resume. He made a lot of money. I think once guys learn about what he did, I think that's something that today's player would be interested in. I mean, am I wrong somewhere?
I don't think you're wrong, but the question that I put out there, when we're talking about Michael Cooper and Kenny Thomas, which I think it's fair, and running down the names on the list, if they want to throw their hat in the ring, absolutely, let's talk about him. Are you hiring them because you think they can be a good coach, or just because you liked watching them play basketball wearing a Louisville uniform? Because those are two completely different things.
Well, it's got to be both, right? I mean,
because I think some fans don't. Because what is Kenny Thomas coaches AAU basketball? Okay, what does that have to do with running a Division I basketball program? And then you hear, all right, well, we'll bring in his mentors. And so you start talking it out. But I think a lot of people just like the basketball player and think that that's an immediate link back to that moment in time. Well, he was really good, so he's going to make it really good now.
Yeah. And how often does that work? No, I'm with you. I understand it. What is the love affair? Why shouldn't there be a love affair with Kenny Thomas? Any more than there shouldn't. Why shouldn't there be a
great alumni?
Yeah, shouldn't there be a love affair with Kenny Thomas and Michael Cooper and Danny Granger and why should there not be, James? I guess I don't understand your question. Now, does that mean he should be your coach? That's a totally different conversation. Kenny has always been a guy who I think felt slighted by this fan base, felt underloved by this fan base. When he was here, he was underappreciated. It was a time where why didn't they get to the Sweet 16? Why didn't he take them there? And I remember his second to last game. They beat Missouri. It was in Denver before UConn blew them out on their way to the championship. And Kenny scored, I want to say 26. And Kenny was really happy because people had been beating him up for not playing big in big games. And he was really happy that he, finally proved that he played well in big games. Maybe people will get off his back. But Kenny always had this weird, and yet he still comes back and contributes. Like Kenny Thomas is a good guy. And so James, I would turn it around. Why wouldn't there be a love affair with Kenny Thomas? Now, if you want to have another conversation on should he be the head coach, a totally different conversation. But why should there not be a love affair?
And I think that's probably where he's ultimately getting at. Is this the push for coaching with these guys? But absolutely, you embrace your alumni. That's what makes college special, that connection. And heck, even if you necessarily didn't attend a college, being in the community, having memories of these guys is what makes you a fan, is what keeps you invested in these programs.
Yeah. Gus said when Steve Alford left, it felt the Lowell basketball program needed a little remodeling, Jeff. Now it feels like a complete reboot. This is a unique place. It is what it is. To be successful here, I think you need to do something a little different that opponents don't see every day. When one night you're running all over the field at 7,200, and the next you're playing at sea level in San Diego, where 50 points is probably enough to win the game. It's from Gus. That would be true for everybody in this league, would it not? I mean, if this place is unique, but it's not unique. Everybody in the league's playing at different altitudes in different places, right? I mean, whether you're San Diego State or New Mexico or Wyoming or Colorado State or UNLV, right? What makes you unique in that situation from anybody else? Bobo Hobo says, I already read you that one. AC says 2 wins. Good morning, Jeff. Come on, man. If UNM was in the same situation as San Diego State, they would want those 2 wins if it mattered to win a conference. You can't bash SDSU if UNM would do the same as the Aztecs. I'm not sure what that's saying. Do you? So if New Mexico was in the same situation as San Diego State, they would want those 2 wins if it mattered to win the conference. You can't. I'm not bashing anybody. I think the league did the right thing on the forfeits. I think you do too, right? The league did the right thing on the forfeit. I'm not bashing anybody on this. What I said earlier is I would have been okay if they declared co-champions in this weird season. And since San Diego State and Colorado State are co-champions.
Yeah, given the fact that they split their head-to-head series.
Yeah.
And I didn't even think of that. And when you brought that up, I'm like, you know what? That would have been, I think, a just as fair compromise, because I agree that these games that New Mexico did not play against San Diego State are different. They didn't play because there was a positive COVID test in their Tier 1 travel party. They didn't play because one of their coaches or players tested positive. They just didn't play because they weren't sure they were going to be ready to play said games.
Yeah. Lobo Hobo's in on the players who did not make the trip yesterday. Paul Weir, after the game, said he's giving these players time to process the situation and hopes that they will return this season, which is next week. He says, process, Jeff. You process the season in June, not the week before the Mountain West Conference tournament. What would you do with one of your New Mexico Bowl employees if they needed time off to process their future 7 days before your game? This is a weird season, and I cut a lot of leeway. But if these guys are in some sort of a protest where they don't want to play for Paul, or they're protest. I mean, obviously, 4 guys got together, right? I can't. You're not going to be able to tell me, well, there was a contact tracing thing here, because you'd have told me that originally. You can't tell me that they were all individual. I guess Arroyo's separate from these 4. So obviously they're trying to make a point. But you don't get to choose. I'm going to go to Vegas, but I'm not going to Fort Collins. You don't get to. Now, if this team was playing and they were playing for an NCAA tournament berth, and this was the situation, I'd sit here and say, all right, let's weigh the pros and cons. Do we need these guys to win a couple of games and get to the postseason? I mean, what are we doing? If they quit on their teammates, then they quit on their teammates. They don't get to come back and get to go to Vegas. That's where I stand. But I'm listening to whatever comes out. Yeah,
it's with what we are working with, even with Paul Weir making that statement and leaving it open. I think he was just more so taking the high road in that situation, as opposed to wanting to put a flamethrower at everything, which he could have done. And I think the way he's handled himself has been fine. I think he's done a good job on the way out. Of course, the letter that we talked about that he sent out, his kind of farewell message, how he's dealing with the team. But ultimately, I think when you turn off that Zoom camera, he's back in that locker room, he's looking at his other coaches, the players that made that trip. And if it was a sense of those guys just not showing up to practice and then not going to the game, you say you made your decision for this season, and you're not coming with us to Las Vegas.
Thanks for coming. Yeah, I agree with you. And by the way, kudos to those guys who played yesterday. And I get it. We're sitting here talking about an 87-73 loss, and that's how bad the season is. We're complimenting players for their effort in a 14-point loss. I got it. But you had those walk-ons out there and that depleted roster. And they were 18.5-point dogs, and I didn't even think it was going to be close to that. I mean, I would have told you it was a 30-point game. And I think you thought so, and most of the people I know did. And they played their backsides off against a team who's got everything to play for. Everything to play for. Give me a team full of those guys. Give me that. The guys who don't want to be here, who don't want to play, who don't love the game, what are we doing? And I get it, man. It's been a hard season. And look, it's hard for me sitting here, and I'm not living their life. So I don't want to undervalue the trauma that these guys have gone through. I don't. But I hear all the time, JJ, well, we're talking about life lessons. We're talking about being men. We're talking about teaching these guys how to deal with adversity. And again, I'm going to premise all of this with if. But if that's the case where they didn't like it and so they're not, I'm going to take my ball and go home, that's not how you deal with adversity. That's not how you deal with life. Right? If we're building character, that's just not how you do it. No, everybody makes a mistake and you learn from it. And I'm not going to tell you they should never play again. I'm just leaving your teammates out on a limb to go do that battle last night. That's not how you deal with adversity. You spend tens of thousands of dollars on a new vehicle, and then the roads you drive on have all these stuff in it that beats up your car. Rocks, salt chips, bugs, dust, tree sap, all of it's bad for your paint job. On the Spot Automotive Detailing, the experts in applying ceramic coating. Ceramic coating lasts 5 years and is the best protection for your vehicle's paint job. On the Spot doesn't just clean your vehicle, they protect your vehicle. Call them at 859-2859 or go see them at otsdetailing.com. What they do is they come out to you wherever it is. Home, office, I know, it's the same thing. Wherever and whenever it's convenient for you, and they detail your vehicle inside and out. So like the day you took it off the lot clean, that's what detailing is. And then if you want this ceramic coating to protect your paint job, they will offer that to you as well. Take a look at what they've got to offer at otsdetailing.com. I know you're going to love this service. I do. It is phenomenal. And if you're looking for a great gift, this is always something that will win. On the Spot Automotive Detailing, 505-859-2859, or visit them at otsdetailing.com.
Dribble, spin cycle, up and under move. What a pass, wrap around pass.
Harris with Gates, the long bomb, 3 ball.
Oh, great steal by Quinteros, lays it up and scores.
A whole little jump step in the... And look out, here comes Agbayosi. Crawford set. That's blocked.
Lansing says, get that out of here. Sister to sister, Marianne Lansing's going to go all the way. Turnaround. Ramos, pump fake, everyone bites. Ramos hits.
Jackson loses it. Jalen Bond back. LAU. Put it down. Dunkalicious. How about it?
Well, I'm going to the frontier, walking to the cashier, order up a root beer and a number one. Cover it with green stuff, one scoop is not enough. Find a booth is real tough, back by the Duke. Meet my family, meet my friends in the quirkiest restaurant I have ever been. All of Albuquerque's favorite spot, it's the Frontier Restaurant.
The Frontier Restaurant is a proud supporter of ProView Sports Network.
Ramos, rise and fire. He's fouled.
You know, he used to coach for Del Norte. And here's Voss all the way with the finish. He'll get the. Behind the back of the dribble. Tries to go up with the right hand. He changed hands in midair. And Hotnet sent it away. Wynn doing a really good job denying Chavez. DC hasn't got the ball. Oh, Yeku. Oh.
Global basketball continues to be a big topic, coming off an 87-73 loss last night at Colorado State to end the regular season. First time since 1957-58 season that the Lobos have finished alone in last place in a conference, man. 57-58, that's what, 42 plus 21 is 63 years ago. Damn, JJ, I don't remember that, do you? I wonder if Sid does. I don't remember that at all. Jeff Siembieda, JJ Buck run the ProView Networks and 95.9 FM and AM 670 Sports Animal. All right, you got anything? You got anything on your Twitter, or you want me to continue with these emails I got?
What are the people saying today, Jeff?
Sid says Lobo basketball equals the Unsers ? Mr. Siembieda. Albuquerque was a much smaller, closer knit community 40 years ago. Most folks were from here. So when the Unsers were at Indy, everyone was gathered around their radios. You'd go into businesses and they'd have the KOB broadcast of the 500 on. Ditto with Lobo basketball. People still talk about having beers with Norm at Ned's or a shot with the players at the Hofbrau. I think that connection with Lobo basketball is over, regardless of who the next coach is. It's a different time in a different city, and Lobo basketball has become like the Dukes, where guys come, they're here for the summer, and you may never see them again. Yeah, I think things are different. To his point, now I don't know how many. Well, you think about all the Lobo basketball players from the 70s who were still here, the Steve Davises and the Ron Nelsons and the Greg Browns from the 80s, guys who still made business here. JJ, can you think of one guy? Chad Toppert is here, I think. How many guys can you think of? David Gibson, I believe, is still in town. Hunter Green, but that's from that era, bygone. Like come here, go, God, I love this place, graduate, become not basketball players, but businessmen, and live in the community. Not a ton, right?
So we're like the last 20 years that this is kind of the snapshot that we're looking at. Yeah.
I think Chad Adams might be here.
Daniel Ferris is here.
Daniel Ferris is back. Phil McDonald. Yeah.
T-Mac.
Yeah. So there's a
JR.
few. Yeah, JR's back up in Espanola. Yeah.
Well, he lives in town, and he's the head coach of Northern New Mexico.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, there's guys sprinkled in from the new era.
So it still happens. Bruce says Lobo basketball equals hottie hot sauce ? I don't know if they're both from AOL accounts. Different AOL accounts. but and they both have the same, Lobo basketball equals something with question marks on them. I mean, is Bruce and Sid the same guy? Jeff, the local stations have lost a lot of reporterette, anchorette, weatherette talent the last couple of years, and they've had trouble replacing it. And I'm not just talking about Hottie Hot Sauce. The watchability of their broadcasts has decreased significantly. I see the same thing with Lobo basketball. This isn't a program where you can turn over almost the entire roster year after year and think it's going to have a negative impact. This isn't a club where you're going to be able to continually bring in guys who will be playing on Sundays in a few years. It's from Bruce. So, JJ, that might be where we have to go this year. Right? I mean, we just talked about it a few segments ago. The next coach, how many of these guys are back next year? I mean, 4 guys walked off the court and didn't play this game. Are they back? Any of those 4 guys back? Valdir Manuel, Byron Matos, Rod Brown, and I forget one each time.
Kirk
Wegscheider. Yeah. How many of them are back? And we don't know. We're speculating because we have no idea. So let's say they left because they don't want to play for Paul. Let's say that, and if that's the reason. Next coach talk to him and say, well, do you want to be here?
Yes.
Probably, yeah.
Yes. You allow that coach to have the opportunity to have conversations with the players on the roster, figure out what they're at, what they're all about, what they're willing to do. And it could be a year where next year there's a lot of duct tape involved to get you into year 2.
There we go again, right? Get out a roster, get out your program. Yeah. Bad Street Lancer is the OD answer. That was the most reserved call by Loopy ever. It might have been, huh, Micah? That might have been Lance's most reserved low-key call in a while. Ron says, I think Jerry Palm said it all. Jeff, to paraphrase, there is no buzz over the Lobo basketball job. That's all Lobo fans need to know. I don't know if that's what he said.
Didn't say that.
He didn't say that. If that's what he said, that's a place you can win, that's got history, that's got a great facility and a passionate fan base. He hasn't heard much buzz about it because I think and Jerry's never the coaching.
Yeah, he's kind of busy updating his bracket every single morning.
Yeah, we tend to give him a lot of info when he talks with us.
The buzz comment was in regards to, I think, names like bouncing around. He's just not in that category, not the fact that there's not people interested in this job.
Yeah, I think that's right. Anybody, and Ron, if you're one of them, that thinks, is it of that, who's going to take this job? Nobody wants this job. If you're that guy, you're wrong. Normally I'll listen to dissenting opinions. But if that's what you think, I'm just going to tell you flat out, you're wrong. There is interest in this job. Now, there's not interest from, guys who are sitting at jobs at UCLA or Indiana Indiana maybe, or Duke or right. But there is interest from all kinds of places, big names, good coaches, small names, good coaches. And I say small names because maybe you haven't heard of them. But if you're of that mindset who believes nobody wants this job, you're wrong. You're flat out wrong. Ron also says 4 players equals. Man, I got how many like equals question mark? It's the theme today, but that's from a Gmail account, not from an AOL. He says 4 players equal Flan question mark. Jeff, the 4 missing players last night remind me of Flanagan's final season when the 5 hyped Lady Lobo freshmen all quit the team at once, and to this day the circumstances around it remain cloudy. That's more analogous to me. It's interesting. I remember that whole freshman class left when Yvonne took over. I'll play with that one. All right. I don't know what it means or what we're gonna find out. Like I said, I'm hearing all kinds of things. It's just 4 guys didn't go. They didn't come to practice, and I don't know. Where are you? If a guy comes to you and said, I didn't want to go to Fort Collins, but now I've processed it, Coach. Thank you for the time. I'm walking into your office today, JJ, and I say to you, Coach, thank you for the time to process everything that's going on. And the boys played well up in Colorado, but I'm ready to come back and go to Vegas. I processed it.
I said, well, Jeff, you made your decision this week. You said you needed time away. You're going to get time away to think about it. You're not coming with us.
Coach, you gave me time to process it.
No, I didn't. You made that decision.
That's what
You're
told
standing
the
in front of
media.
me. I'm talking to you right now. Talking to you, eyes face to face, looking yourself in
My pleasure.
your eyes. You made your decision. Now you're gonna have to answer to your next coach about it.
505-246-0610. We'll go to the phones when we come back.
The decision that you should be making is about your health. And of course, we have been so health conscious over the last year, but it hasn't been about fitness and bettering yourself. It's that time. If you're looking to challenge yourself or kickstart your fitness, let me tell you about F45 training. It's functional training, a mix of circuit and high intensity training in just 45-minute classes. And that's what I love about it. You're going to maximize your time, get yourself a fantastic workout, and not have to spend hours trying to figure out what is happening. The classes are set up in which you have stations, you have your reps, you have your exercises. Bang, 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 let's go. Certified trainers to help all fitness levels, and I love the monitors on the wall, help you keep track of your sets, what the exercises are, and where you go to next. You can check them out, get a 7-day free trial. If you're unsure, if you're a little nervous, I was at first, going back to the gym, everything that's gone on. Once you go in there, you see, okay, the class sizes are managed, the health and safety protocols are being followed, you wear your mask, and guess what? It's not hard to do a high-intensity workout wearing a mask. They're open 7 days a week as well, which I love, so you can find the class that fits your schedule. I'm hitting it Saturday and Sunday mornings, trying to catch up for the week, and the classes are just as good. They're located at 5920 Holly Northeast, right there, Paseo I-25, so good access from wherever you are coming throughout town. You are going to be hooked, so give it a try. Check them out, f45training.com. Download the F45 app so you can take a look at the classes, sign up for your 7-day free trial, and book your next workout at F45 Training. Team training, life-changing. I'll see you at F45.
Let's get a little closer.
Oh, instead it's a gorgeous pass.
Here's what he'll
just shoot it.
He's going to go all the way.
He's going to fire at the buzzer, and he hits.
Great pass, Hadbury, and thank you very much.
Tie in the district. Inside, fly, Eagles.
Chavez uses some athleticism. And then Morris down low, able to finish. You called it, Steve, in 10 seconds. And look at this, stripped, stolen Watson. Christian Lucero beats the buzzer. Here's Ian Chavez, the sharpshooter. Got it.
Could have said that any better. He answered the question. He
On
got
a
another
steal
one.
at the buzzer. Back to back for Chavez.
Into the paint. Medina from the volleyball lines. Medina wants another one from deep. Oh, he wants 10. Give him 10.
Lewis finds Watson. He's going to finish. One-handed slam. Vista, but just all the different scenarios we could see potentially play out ahead of the state tournament.
Oh! Ho, ho, ho!
Moreno extra pass. And Watson. Out with it, Gallegos, and he's going to run all the way. Window, yes! Able to get out of it. How did he find Battle? It's to Cunningham, and it...
I mean, Ramos' hand.
Ramos puts it up, beats the buzzer!
Boy, Jefferson wide open.
Jefferson to Daraji! Into Watson with the jam!
Another steal by Davina Lovato, and here comes Agbaiosi. Lob, two-hand hammer. You knew that was coming. Heck, the lob, tagged by Osi, the one-hand hammer.
Put up. And a drive from Parham.
Well, I'm going to the frontier, walking to the cashier, order up a root beer and a number one. Cover it with green stuff, one scoop is not enough. Find a booth that's real tough, back by the Duke. Meet my family, meet my friends in the quirkiest restaurant I have ever been. All of Albuquerque's favorite spot, it's the Frontier Restaurant.
The Frontier Restaurant is a proud supporter of ProView Sports Network.
Lady Lobos take center stage and literally take center stage today. JJ, do I got to let the SID know that I'm coming? Because I think I'm going to be in the building. I'm going to a Lobo game today. Lobos in Colorado State, women at the pit, 4:30 pregame. 5 o'clock tip, J.J. Buck, Nikki Heckroth Lobato will have the call here on the Sports Animal.
I am very excited about this. Looking forward to being at a live sporting event for the first time since last March.
Which Lobo basketball quarter zip are you going to wear? Or is it going to be a golf shirt?
Oh, I'm going to wear something with a collar. I haven't decided if I'm going.
They both have collars.
You wear that tux?
Ooh,
no.
Yeah, the red one.
Come on,
might not actually.
You gotta wear that tux.
I might not fit in it anymore after this past year. That's a real possibility. It's deciding
I gave you that black
button up
Lobo
or that black polo. That's what I'm
black
gonna
Lobo basketball polo. Yeah, that's
be
a good
down
one.
to for this afternoon. But just excited. We're somehow, some way, we got here. Like the UNM women are playing for a regular season conference title after that year. 2 games at home against a Colorado State team that's done the same thing. Like UNM was picked 6th, Colorado State was picked 8th, and here they are playing for the conference title.
That's cool. All right, let's go to it. 505-246-0610. Good morning, Wayne. How you doing?
Hey, I'm doing good. Thanks for taking my call, gentlemen. Of course, there is disappointment related to yesterday. It did not go according to plan. But I would say, and of course, I'm going to share some questionable ideas, and feel free to roast me and my ideas when we hang up. But
I love that you preface your calls by saying, "Of course, I'm going to share questionable ideas."
Of course, I am. Yes. Well, thank you for that. The idea of spending close to $1 million per year to bring in an out-of-state acquaintance of Mr. Nunez's and holding a nationwide recruiting effort with the expectation of success within 2 to 3 years unsettles me a bit. I have lost a lot of reasonable optimism related to the men's Lobo basketball program and Division I success. So my idea, what I would like to share, is that if we were, and I know I'm a coercive one, to move to Division II, the benefits for UNM would be clear ones in my mind, such as being a big fish in a small pond, being instantly competitive, playing for conference championships regularly, expecting to go to the NIT and advancing regularly, and just the prestige of being a successful program again should be interesting to Lobo fans. And finally, if we did look at that as a possibility, we could then get refocused on a more diverse sports program, which would include putting more energy and effort and resource into soccer, skiing, and baseball, amongst others. And so I know that that's a lot.
No, that's good. Thank you, Wayne. You want it?
Well, first off, Wayne, the NIT is a Division I basketball tournament.
So you don't qualify for the NIT.
You do not qualify for the NIT. Big fish in a small pond is absolutely right. You might as well cut the pit in half if you want to drop down to division, because you ain't filling that building the same way, and you're also not recruiting the same player. So you're not dropping down with these same guys and just going, oh, well, we might not have been able to compete in the Mountain West, but we got these dudes that can now go run playing D2 ball.
So what that would also mean is all your other sports go down. So now that men's soccer team that you want to bring back would be competing at Division II as well. So there would be no national prominence. I mean, you could win all the Division II soccer. You're right. You're right. They're not dropping down. But my point is, in that scenario, you could win all the Division II league championships you want in men's soccer and skiing, and it brings no prominence to you.
There's a reason. And Jeff, you talk about it all the time. You know, you have to make some hard decisions in collegiate athletics. It's a business that has been grown beyond anyone's imagination when you just look at what it costs to play with the big dogs. But there's a reason teams move up to Division I. There's a reason teams want to play FBS football. There's a reason teams want to be affiliated with a D1 conference. And all these schools that are struggling aren't just dropping down, winning a ton of games, and all of a sudden reigniting their fan bases.
Yeah. Let me ask you this. I'll put it in a business perspective. When Los Alamos or Sandia Labs are looking to fill a position of leadership, do they do a nationwide search? They pay a lot. Now, I understand that's not a public institution, or at least a state is. It's a federal institution. It's not state money. It's different, but it is similar. When you're looking for someone with a specialized skill set, right, to lead a multi-million-dollar operation, which Lobo basketball is, which the labs would be at different scales, you do a nationwide search, right, and you pay market value. I see zero, and I appreciate Wayne's passion for this, and I'm glad he's got a vision that's different. I just see zero benefit in any of it. Zero. Mm-hmm. The crowds would dwindle, not grow, and there is no guarantee you would be competitive. You would gut all your rosters, right? Instead of these Division I athletes you would get Division II athletes. Now, could you recruit better? There's no flagship institution, is there, that's Division II in any state? I mean, Maine, South Dakota, North Dakota, they're 1AA, right? There's no Division II flagship institutions. So I appreciate it. The answer, that's not the way it's going to be. All right. Maybe we'll hear more on when do you think we'll get any idea on what the roster is going to be moving forward for Lobo basketball? And I say
probably an hour before they tip off in Las Vegas.
Mm-hmm. I think that's probably right. I'll sniff around a little bit, and I say sniff around. I hear things, and I want to be proven right or wrong on what I'm hearing. But the people from whom I'm hearing these things are always right.
2 minutes,
and that's what just bothers you about the situation. All right, ladies win tonight. It's a tough one. You haven't seen Colorado State yet.
No, I am so excited for this matchup. Teams have been so similar. You look at the path to this point, though. They split with Fresno State. They split with UNLV. Colorado State just split with Air Force. So those are the 3 losses for both schools in conference play. You look at points per game, 79-76. Opponents' points per game, it's like 67-69. So it's about as even as you get across the board. Exciting basketball. Really stoked just to be able to broadcast this one, actually see this team in person with the conference championship on the line. So here's the thing. Lobos have to sweep it. They want to win a Mountain West regular season title. Colorado State just needs one to hang a banner.
Looking forward to seeing you out there today. And again, it's not open. There's no tickets, but certainly you can listen to the game. Catch JJ and Nikki from the pit. Exciting stuff today. 4:30 pregame and 5 o'clock tip-off. Lobos and Colorado State for a battle at the top of the Mountain West Conference. Thanks to Jerry Palm. He was with us today. Appreciate him. Read him over on CBSSports.com regularly. Josh, boy, a lot of work flying solo today. And I give you credit. You're the only guy in the room, and you're still wearing your mask, and that's dedication to the process. Good work today.
Building, gotta go.
No, I got it.
Abide by the guidelines.
Micah, you're working in a private building. You're the only guy in the room. Good work as always. JJ, have a great call tonight. Good stuff today. Look forward to talking to you again tomorrow.
You have a day, y'all. We'll talk this afternoon.
Be good to each other. Jim Rome Show is next. Colin Cowherd after that. A little bit of the sports bar at 4 for a half hour. And then JJ takes the mic at 4:30 for Lobos. We're back tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. Be good to each other. Be kind, loving, caring, and sharing. We'll smell you tomorrow.
Well, I'm going to the frontier, walking to the cashier, order up a root beer and a number one. Cover it with green stuff, one scoop is not
Let's get a little closer.
Oh, instead it's a gorgeous pass.
Here's what he'll
just shoot it.
He's going to go all the way.
He's going to fire at the buzzer, and he hits.
Great pass, Hadbury, and thank you very much.
Tie in the district. Inside. Fly. Eagle.
Chavez uses some athleticism. And then Morris down low, able to finish. You called it, Steve, in 10 seconds. And look at this. Stripped. Stolen Watson. Christian Lucero beats the buzzer. Here's Ian Chavez, the sharpshooter. Got it.
Said that any better. He answered the question.
On
got
a
another
steal
one.
at the buzzer. Back to back for Chavez.
To the paint. Medina from the volleyball lines. Medina wants another one from deep. He wants 10. Give him 10.
Lewis finds Watson. He's going to finish. One-handed slam. Vista, but just all the different scenarios we can see potentially play out ahead of the state tournament.